Sun's actually starting to come out, and tomorrow and Mother's Day Sunday is supposed to be beautiful, cold, 60s, but we can live with that. It'll be dry. Hopefully, all of you get a little family time. Keep distancing in mind, and we do look forward to a couple of days where maybe we can let loose with all of the new rules. We've got your top and not top story coming your way here in a minute. Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet will join us at 3:30. What's going on in Vegas? I wonder if they're going to take any bets on the UFC fights. I'm sure they will do that. That's it. We get the real first live sports other than the Korean baseball. But in Jacksonville, Florida, tomorrow night, the UFC light heavyweight title will be on the line. That'll be on ESPN, and so we actually get real sports when it'll be Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje that actually get into the ring as the main event. The city golf courses, we told you, are bringing in carts. We're going to get an idea of the different phases they're going to have here. 350, Mickey Barker's going to join us. Mike Ferrer from WNML in Knoxville. Mike Ferreira will join us. And
Vince Ferreira, Dave.
Vince, yes. I'm sorry. Vince is going to join us. You know, the Dr. John McCullers, the Memphian, who is one of the heads of Le Bonheur, also, I think, second in command of UT Health Sciences here, the medical school here. He said yesterday that there would be nobody in Neyland Stadium next fall. No, there would be no people at Tennessee football games. The University of Tennessee chancellor and the University of Tennessee athletic director, Philip Fulmer, all came out with statements after that. Very quickly after McCullers made those comments, and they are saying nothing's been decided. As far as we know, and we'll let Vince Ferreira talk about this, as far as we know, we are proceeding and won't make any decisions, yay or nay, until much later in the year on the guidance of government and medical. And what was interesting about that was if there is any presumption at this point, the presumption is there will be football with people in Neyland, and we'll talk with Vince Ferreira about that. Our friend Bill Harder from First Bank will join us at about 4:30. We'll talk a little bit about his business and how it is doing. Andy Schiffman, our agent, usually in Chicago. I think he's still here. We'll chat with him about that very important phone call that was made today by NBA players with the brass. We'll figure out what happened there. There is some news about the openings. Woj has had a story. We'll get into that a little bit as well. And then at 5:30, the always popular, very challenging heck yeah, hell no, as Drew Barrett delivers to both Stats and to myself at 5:50. It will be crunch time. How are things in Forest City, Arkansas?
Very well, Dave. Very, very well. And the doctor referencing Neyland Stadium being empty next year, he'll either be right or he'll be wrong.
Right.
At some point, we will know. And a lot of May conversation will look very inaccurate, somewhat foolish, right or wrong, whether there will be people there or not. Down to 3 conferences now that have announced no media days. Only the SEC, Big Ten, and ACC yet to make an announcement. And one thing, I don't know if it's positive for college football, but it's still hard to believe that game in Ireland between Notre Dame and Navy hadn't been scuttled. It felt like it would have been weeks ago, but it hadn't been. If you think about it a little bit, you go to how things are being handled now in Ireland. They're making a lot of headway there. You know, the United States Naval Academy can travel anywhere under kind of the biosphere quarantine type world if they need to. You know, Notre Dame can afford whatever it takes. If it takes 3 team hotels and everybody to be tested and heck, antibody testing, you know Notre Dame can.
Mm-hmm.
And you just wonder, if ESPN could get everything over there to launch the college football season on August 29th. That's 100 in 13 days from now. So obviously that clock is ticking. But for me, this weekend will be 9th straight weekend without sports because I'm not counting UFC.
Well, there are plenty that will, including ESPN. Here's what I want to do.
That's fine. They can. I'm not. It's human dogfighting.
Brett and I have varying degrees of bets. You know, the lower kind of mild bet is a lunch bet. Then there's a dinner bet, and then there's the big one, the steak and whiskey bet. I'll bet you the big one, steak and whiskey, that Notre Dame Navy game is not in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, I won't take that because I'm with you. I don't think it can be played. I doubt it can be played anywhere this year, especially if we start reducing games. That one might be one that both sides let's go for each other. So we'll see. But no, I don't think it'll be played August 29th in Dublin, Ireland either. No.
And if I could go back to Dr. McCullough's comments from yesterday, to the best of my knowledge, when he made that statement, he did not say there wouldn't be football in Neyland Stadium. He just said
that's how I read it as well.
There would not be people. And, I do think we've hit sort of a middle ground here. And I kind of think, and I'll give you my hunch later, but the very first thing that we heard was, and this was pretty universal from all the college presidents and administrators, athletic administrators, we're not going to play games unless kids are on campus. We can't ask a football player to come to a campus that is unsafe for everybody else. Okay? I think we all agreed with that. No one was arguing that notion.
Yeah, and you see Val Ackerman, the Big East commissioner of basketball, to Big East commissioner, talking the very same thing today. Just no students, no ball.
Right. So I get that. And so for me, the assumption was, okay, that means if we've got classes and everybody on that Chronicle of Higher Learning, everybody that has committed so far, and that's the vast majority, almost 85, 90% of them are going, our intention is to have campus classes. Our plan is campus classes. With the help of medical guidance, we will have classes on campus. So that's almost a universal, which opens up the door for the young men, the football players, to be able to compete on the field in a football game. I'm sure there will be other parameters like testing of both teams and things of that nature. But that door was open there. Now, does that mean people will be in the stands? That I don't know. Here's my hunch about that. My hunch is this. If we have on-campus classes and those players come and they report and they have a camp and they're going to play and we're going to have football games, and it may be delayed by a month. I'm not saying it'll be exactly on time, but I got a feeling we'll end up with, if not all 12 games, at least all the conference games, and maybe they'll add a conference games. If you only play 8, they'll make it 9 just to get more games in. My hunch is this, because this is still so many months away, and we are getting, I think, a bit of progress here with the openings. We won't know for sure for 2 weeks, but
I think we're making
to me.
Baby steps, more than baby steps.
In the end, what I think you'll see is social distancing in a football stadium. Which does that mean 30%, 25%, 40%? I don't know the number, but I suspect there will be some. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if they were to say, we are advising those that are 60 and older, don't come. Watch it on TV.
Exactly.
Because you are the most vulnerable. Now, that doesn't
and Dave,
but can I make one caveat here? That does not include 60-plus announcers. They get to go because they're in the press box with social distancing.
Well, but I think, with the testing and with possibly signing, that I'm not going to sue you.
Right.
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of parameters on everybody going into that ballpark. And, Dave, you know I want college football. If I had to bet right now, just every cent I could get my hands on, I would probably be a no bet. I definitely would be a no starting August 29th or the following Thursday night, September 3rd, and the first full Saturday, September 5th, when the Tigers host Arkansas State, and that Sunday, September 6th, when Ole Miss is supposed to go to Houston and play Baylor. I would definitely bet against those. But if I just had to blanket bet some or none this fall, I think right now my bet would be none. I don't think it'd be every penny I could get my hands on, but it would be, if I had to bet, I think it would be none. I sure don't want that to happen. But, Dave, if we play college football at a place that has no pretense, we don't even go through the pretense of having school around it, let's tear the scab off and call it what it is, professional football.
Well, Brett, I don't think that will happen for various reasons. But the number one reason goes back to economics. We can say all we want to about athletic departments depending on the football team bringing in 85% of their revenues, and that's why we have women's basketball, and that's why we have the golf teams, and that's why we have soccer teams. But the truth of the matter, too, is you cannot charge tuition at the same rate if all your classes are online. The college institutions themselves as a whole, I'm not talking about the schools that have endowments that are so well funded they could go for years without bringing money in, but that's a minority. The vast majority of schools are hurting if they don't have on-campus classes with dorms that are filled, because those are revenue-producing entities that make the university financially go. And so if we don't have online campuses, there will be schools that will go under.
That's
right. That's the
right.
first motivation for every university to have campus classes. The football part is secondary.
I've said before, some, not all, but some college administrators have spines of Jell-O. But one thing they do want very badly, they want the money coming in.
Yeah, they want their jobs.
They want their jobs, and I've talked about you pick your college town out in around the country, but a little bit larger cities like Nashville, like Memphis, like Birmingham, like Dallas, like New Orleans for Tulane, not as much so. But you go to most of the Big Ten haunts. You go to Madison, Wisconsin. You go to West Lafayette, Indiana. You go to Bloomington, Indiana. You go to Iowa City. Minneapolis, maybe not as much with Minnesota. Then you go to the SEC haunts. You go to these smaller towns in the ACC. You go to Clemson, South Carolina. You go to Raleigh and Durham, maybe a little bit exempted.
No, they're exempt. I think they're exempt. One of those schools that you mentioned earlier,
Miami,
the first one, is
Miami
the state
for
capital.
Sure.
State capitals are going to be okay.
I think so. I think so. That insulates them. But the rest of these places,
oh my,
you what you do to your property values.
Bingo.
That associate dean of the School of Liberal Arts that's making $250,000 a year. But he's in a home that right now in these toady college towns, and it's all of them, ACC, SEC,
right.
Big Ten, all of them, it's worth $675,000. You see the decline of the university and decline of sports, and he looks up and his house is worth $300,000, and then guess what happens on the other end? The property taxes go up. It will be something cataclysmic that we can't imagine, but so we have to have school. That's what they're there for.
Yeah,
that's what they actually exist for.
I know
these towns, and I'm very respectful of that. That is first. It's no chicken or egg to it, but we know how important football and college football that it is, and if we don't play. And if we don't have school and we do play, then it is professional football with no pretense around it.
I think the best example that that comes to my mind is your school that you're part of the broadcast team for, Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. I have watched in amazement the last 20, 25 years. The property values around Oxford have skyrocketed as that university has doubled in admission rates. And people have found it as a retirement place because it's very pretty and the campus is pretty, and colleges bring culture to an area where and it's still an easy, livable, other than football.
Starkville the same way.
Saturday, Starkville's the same way. Probably Fayetteville can be put in that same book. Now, you take 60% of the revenues from that university, and enrollment gets chopped in half. My goodness. You're right. The property values of those towns and the businesses that in those towns have to fold up, it sends a chill up your spine. It's the end of the era that we know it. So we are talking about a lot more, honestly, than just college athletics when we talk about these universities and having classes on campus.
Fayetteville a little less sensitive to it as Auburn, Oxford, and Starkville because of the Fortune 500 companies within a stone's throw of that campus, namely Walmart and a lot of other great companies.
Isn't Tyson there as well?
J.B. Hunt and a lot of them. It would be a little less impacted, but Fayetteville proper, I just think of all my friends in all these towns we just mentioned that have bought the fashionable condos in the last 10 to 15 years. What's the use of it if there's no football?
I don't know.
You might as well have a fashionable condo in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Well, for that matter, and I agree with you. A lot of those economies are built on that. But if like the example of Oxford, where people have come to live there in retirement because of the restaurants and because of the arty things that occur there, and if those businesses no longer thrive, well, then why would you want to live there?
Yeah, and Memphis being such a metropolis is a little less sensitive, but it'd be catastrophic for the University of Memphis and those same professorial types with it. It would be something we almost can't imagine. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity May sales event, even on this little bit cool and crummier day than it has been. Great offers on all 2020 models and always special lease options. If you ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus as well. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Welcome back in as we approach day 5 now of the reopening, and there's some positivity that is going around. I'll begin with Beale Street. It will reopen slowly. No more than 10-person gatherings still, and alcohol consumption must be inside. You cannot take your drink outside. There will be no live music. So, slow baby steps, but at least we've got the entertainment district going back. It was announced yesterday that on May 18th, casinos in the state of Arkansas will be open, including Southland Gaming and Racing. I think they will be held to 30% capacity, and I don't know how they're going to work. Like the slot machines, are they moving those things 6 feet apart? How are they going to work that? It'll be interesting to watch, but they are doing it starting on May the 18th. Sad tale today. Unemployment rate came out. In April, unemployment was at 14.7%, and it's really worse. That number in its own right is the highest since they started tracking all the data in 1948. It is on par, they say, with the Great Depression. Now, that 14.7% around 23 million, is those that are unemployed that are searching for other jobs. You actually, to get the real number, have to add in the amount of people who are unemployed but have not searched for new jobs. So that's another 13.2 million people. And just locally, well, it's actually around the country, but locally there are people that are affected because it is from Memphis. ALSAC, which is the fundraising arm of St. Jude, they cut 160 jobs yesterday. This is the greatest fundraising organization, one of the great businesses in my mind that I've ever seen in my lifetime, with the amount of money that they raise every day for that hospital. And for them to cut jobs, wow, you know it is tough. Mayor Lee Harris of Shelby County says we've seen real solid progress on testing, 1,151 per day the last week. He wants to expand the health department with 140 more full-time employees for testing and contact tracing. So far, today, 1,467 cases in Shelby County. 66 have passed away. So we're talking about 73 new cases and 2 new fatalities. We also find almost 40% of those that have passed away from COVID-19 in Shelby County were those that were in nursing home-like facilities. Tennessee were over 14,000 with 239 fatalities, a little over 9,000 Mississippi with 409 fatalities, 3,700 in Arkansas, still under 90 fatalities at 88. Dashboard around the world. Brett, when we talk to each other next week, it'll be over 4 million because we're at 3,981,000 as of about 2 o'clock today. 274,000 worldwide have passed away. 1,372,000 have recovered. In the United States, 1,308,000, 77,000, almost 78,000 deaths. 77,902, 221,000 have recovered. Those are the numbers of the day.
My top story, NBA facilities now reopened at a lot of places, all can in the next few days. Sounds like a little progress made today with the NBA. A lot of things hashed out in that big conference call. I talked to 2 NBA people today that I think are really plugged in. Boy, you couldn't be more different than this. One said 100% NBA will finish 70 games and crown a champion. The other one said 0% that they played their last game for the year. So that's how disparate it can be. Mr. Brash, Mark Cuban, he's now it's not so brash. He once was going to bet on playing in May on the over and under. Now he's saying, who do you trust with your life? And he finishes every statement he makes with right. I mean, everything's right. Who do you trust with your life? Right. That's the new catchphrase with all the cool kids in the Valley lingo. Who do you trust with your life, right?
I don't believe, honestly, that the Mavericks are one of those that will be opening up their facilities, because part of the Woj story today was they're only going to allow those facilities to open that are in communities where testing would not take away from healthcare workers' ability to test. In other words, you got to have more tests, and all the healthcare workers have been tested, so there's access that can be used for NBA players, even if they're buying them, because that is the right thing to do. And I don't think they have enough testing in Dallas, Texas. I don't think every one of those healthcare workers that are on the front lines, they got enough to go around. So I don't believe the Mavericks will be having their camp open. We shall find out about that a little bit later with Andy Schiffman.
Not top story of the day.
Well, it's still a great story, but it's just secondary to everything that's going on. That's the NFL schedule reveal from last night. Whoever got the leak was right. It is Houston and Kansas City, a replay of last year's AFC Championship game. They will start things off. There will be a Monday Night Football doubleheader, Pittsburgh at the New York Giants, and then it will be Denver and the Titans in the Mile High City. So that should be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of people think Denver can win the Super Bowl. New England, without Brady, has what some people think is the toughest schedule. Tampa, and this was a tweet I got last night from our friend TJ Reeves. 5 of the first 7 weeks, the Bucs are on prime time, which is more prime time than they got after they won the Super Bowl. That's called Brady fever.
My not top story, Kansas basketball facing major allegations. If true, Bill Self is done, and for good measure, Jeff Long probably will be done. But the biggest voices in college basketball, let's go through their Twitter feeds. Jay Billis, how many tweets you think he's tweeted about it?
0.
Zip, not one, but he's tweeted Jeezy lyrics and, of course, his daily tirade about paying players. Seth Davis, how many tweets?
0.
2,
Ooh.
both defending Kansas. That's right. Seth Davis defended Kansas. Dick Vitale, how many?
Does Dick really tweet?
Oh, yeah.
I'll say 1 for the heck of it.
He's had about 4, and one of them, Kansas has got a really big battle on their hands. That college basketball media, no media sticks together like that. You had every college football writer, people that didn't even know where Ole Miss was, heading to Oxford writing the takedown story. Not college basketball. Hear no evil, see no evil.
We have a very, very busy show. That is for certain. Those are your top and your not top stories. We head to Vegas in just a minute. Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet will be with us. This portion of our program is brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Been around for 40 years. He and his dad, they've been making dreams come true with houses, palaces, I should say, really and really for about, it's 2 generations and about 40 years. That's about right. And when I talk about just the greatest of all the new amenities that he can put into a new home, your dream home. He's got land. If you've got land you're not sure what to do with, he knows exactly how to make it all happen. If you've got a place you really like but you want the modern amenities I just talked about, then it's renovation. I call it renovation with innovation. You want the brand new, very open bedrooms. You want the brand new, incredible bathtubs with hot tubs and steam rooms inside your bathroom. You want the island in your kitchen. You want the California closets, but you don't want to move. He puts them in. All you got to do is go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about, and then call 751-1632. Talk with him. He understands. He's going to work very closely with you. He knows the commit you're making. If you're looking for a development that's already sort of in existence, there's a new one. A gated community by Boyle called Leylon. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes start there at $875. Really go take a look. KenGarland.com. You're going to fall in love with Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. To Vegas we go. Bruce Marshall, he's next.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Cruising through our Friday, hour number one. Nice to have you with us. I know you're all looking forward to letting loose a little bit tonight. And don't forget, the restaurants are open. Just remember, social distance. Keep that 6 feet away. The story that Brett just referred to a minute ago about Kansas and Bill Self, this happened late yesterday afternoon. And just so you know, the NCAA enforcement staff's position that was released by Kansas came in a 92-page reply charging Kansas with level 1 violations totaling 5 different ones. The most
That's
serious.
a lot of ways to say I'm guilty.
Man, 5 level 1 violations is huge, including lack of institutional control. Bill Self is charged with head coach responsibility violations. I don't know how he comes out of this, but it's just amazing.
I don't know how
when
Jeff
you
Long
talk
does.
about Kansas. I don't either. Although a lot of this stuff may actually have occurred prior to Jeff Long even being there. It'll be something to watch because we've really not seen other than I'm trying to remember. Did the Auburn assistant Chuck Person did he actually serve some prison time?
Yes.
So he served a small.
It might have been home detention. I don't know if it was actually at a facility. Federal correctional facility. But
And then Brett, there was one other coach that I think also got
the
a slap
guy
on
that
the
had
wrist.
the nickname like Bookie.
Yeah, and other than that,
Not a
nothing.
great nickname for a college basketball
No.
scandal.
But the bottom line is nothing of all that. The FBI was so sure. Nothing has ever really come of that. This would be the first major slap if it were to occur.
Won't one thing happen to Kansas?
To Las Vegas with 5 major violations, high level violations.
But
I can't imagine that.
Is it really a story if people won't report and talk about it?
Well,
I mean, if you're tweeting Jeezy lyrics, I mean, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a noise?
Bruce Marshall from Las Vegas in the Gold Sheet joins us now. Are there odds on penalties on Kansas after that story broke yesterday?
Well, I'll tell you this, Dave and Brett. I mean, it would look like. I mean, this is pretty cut and dried. Except we're talking about the NC2A here, and I thought I never saw a case look more blatant than North Carolina's academic fraud of a couple of years ago. Never.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a system that was like at the root of everything, and this is compromising academics and they found some bloody loophole around that was so bogus. I don't trust the NC2A more than I can see them. And, you think they would, but it just depends on how much of a sacred cow they think Kansas is. I don't, Bill Self, no, I mean, but even a lot of this other stuff, I'm surprised Sean Miller hasn't gotten fired yet either.
Right.
Out of Arizona because they were implicated as well.
Well, they're on wiretaps, for goodness sake. They've got audio
Will Wade.
of them in Will Wade. They've got audio incriminating themselves, and yet they're going to or at least up to this point, nothing has occurred.
Yeah, I know that there were people in Arizona that wanted to move Miller out. Self has got a little bit of a deeper base there at Kansas of support, but I mean, I would think so. But I would have told you for sure a few years ago that North Carolina was going to get the book thrown at it, and nothing happened. So I just don't know that I trust the NC2A to do what it should. But we'll see.
We will see, Bruce, and we will see about this college football season with more and more everyday people being very declarative that we're going to have school and we're going to have football next year. They don't really ever say when it's going to start, though. And then some, like the governor of Oregon, saying there will be no public assemblies, no major crowds, at least through the month of September. The raging battle will be, and I know Greg Sankey and the SEC, they don't want the appearance of no matter what we play football, but at some point he's going to have to lead. I don't think they could play just among themselves. They need at least 2 or 3 playing partners. They thought they had a pretty firm ally in the Big 12, and Bob Bowlesby kind of broke it off last week with some really, really damaging comments. But if from an individual league, if 12 want to play and 2 don't, you play, don't you?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, James Franklin was talking about that in the Big Ten too, because you got a few states there. Well, Michigan, you got New Jersey with Rutgers that could be involved. I would think so, but I think it is a lot tougher, Brett, to project what's going to happen with college football than the NFL. I am pretty sure the NFL is going to go here.
I am too.
And it's one of the NFL's got a little bit more flexibility with this stuff too. Did you know this is the first time in NFL history this year that there is no stadium sharing with any Major League Baseball? Now, it's been very few in recent years, but this year they've gone, so they can actually push the schedule back a little bit if they had to. But I think there's a unified front there to do it, and I think the NFL can do it. Colleges, I just don't know. There are so many different. Each league is sort of like each commissioner is sort of like running his own league. All these states, they are more tied in and they are more at the whim politically because a lot of these schools are supported by the states. And then there's a lot more political hurdles to jump through. Plus, I have very little faith in college administrators. There's some good ones. There's a lot of bad ones, though, especially at the school levels there. And, even on my totem pole, politicians at least have to grovel for votes at times. I mean, a lot of these college administrators don't have to even do that. They're just answering to some boards of trustees, and then they are totally under the thumb of the politicians. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with the colleges at all. I can't even bother to make a prediction on that. But the NFL, I think, at least will be there for us to enjoy in the fall, and I can pretty surely say that.
I have questions about both the entities, and they are for reasons of governmental control. I mean, at this point, the governors of each state make up the laws. And you can't in California have a mass gathering of more than 10 people. You can't in the state of Tennessee have a gathering at this point of more than 10 people. Now we have time.
Yeah, but there's some interstate commerce laws that could overrule that local official.
Yes, they could, and it would be. I mean, at some point here, 4 months, and it comes quick, but it's still down the road a bit. But I mean. Politically, at least among the electorate, though, I mean, people want to get back to normal. There's not that many people. Some of these polls you see, I mean, a lot of people want to get back going, and football would be a big thing. It would be an enormously unpopular move if some governors decide to not do it. And listen, there's ways they could work around it. I think most people would accept games with few or no fans so they could watch it on TV. That would be better than nothing.
I agree.
At this point right now, I don't think some states would even do that. September, they might have a different idea.
Well,
but you're right. Colleges have a lot more hoops to jump through. That's why I'm less sure about them than I am the NFL. By the way, the CFL north of the border, they may not even go at all. I mean, they start earlier than the NFL, a couple months earlier. But at this point, looks like the CFL might not have a season. So
that's the last one that would share a diamond at Skydome at Rogers Center with the Blue Jays and the Toronto CFL team. That would be the last one to share.
Well, I guess the last NFL was last year with Oakland, right? That was it.
Oakland,
yes.
With the Athletics.
Yes, Oakland's last one last year. NFL,
Here's the problem you have with the CFL. Most of those players in the CFL are from America. Right now, if you're a United States citizen, I guess unless you get some sort of special license, but you're not allowed to cross the border. The border's closed.
Right. Right,
So-
and this is a problem the NHL might have too,
Yeah.
if it ever gets going again. Because a lot of, you got a couple countries involved there, and you got a lot of foreigners involved in the NHL. It's different. I mean, guys who work there, they're not immigrating in, but they're working. But yeah, there's plenty of hurdles to overcome. That's why for all this stuff. I mean, the NFL looks like it's got the clearest shot to actually get going again. And we've talked about this before, guys. The calendar worked really well for the NFL in this crisis. If anything worked well, it worked for them. Hopefully, the worst of it comes in their off season. We'll see about the other sports. I'm going to predict, though, by the end of May, we'll hear something from the other major sports too, including MLB, NHL, and NBA. And I'm guessing most, if not all of them, will get something going in July. If we don't hear that by the end of May, then I don't think they're going. They would have to restart it in July, I think. And if so, we'd hear by the end of the month. We could be getting close to some announcements on some of those, but we'll just have to wait and see.
You're going to get a clear plan from baseball, I think, middle of next week. Whether or not they can really enact that plan, that I am not sure of. I know the players favor home ballparks. There's not going to be, at least to begin with, any fans in the stands. I'm pretty sure that's already established, but you've got issues. Are you going to be able to have a baseball game even in July in New York, where they're still so affected by so many cases and they don't have mass gatherings? Are you going to be able to do that in San Francisco, where they've had so many? Are you going to be able to cross the border into Toronto? There's just so many questions. I don't know that we have any answers at this point.
Yeah, you're right. I would think, at some point here, there's a for most sports, politically, though, they would like this stuff to get going, though. I mean, you're seeing a lot of politicians say they'd like to see sports going, too, now that you could have some holdouts there. New York's going to be sort of a problem. New Jersey, too. The Jets and Giants play in New Jersey. But the Yankees and Mets still play in New York, and I can't envision them. But, I mean, at this point, would they even let games go on with no fans in the stands? I don't know. But, we'll just have to wait and see what goes. But you get the feeling that they're getting close to something, some announcement. That's been the one frustrating thing the last month and a half or so. There's been some saber rattling. You've heard various rumors float out there, but they've never gotten beyond that. Nobody's ever put forth some real plan or even started to take steps toward that. The NFL is the only one that has really laid its whole thing out. Maybe it's got an easier road to hoe right now than these other leagues. But, like you, Dave, I think we're going to start seeing some indicators in the next couple of weeks.
If you're a betting man, and I know you are, football, will we have it?
NFL, yeah. College, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think we have NFL.
No. It's like at the roulette wheel, Bruce. It's black or red. Is it yes or no right now?
College football, no.
Really?
I'm with you right now. I'm no. I'm no.
I'm
yes, no.
I'm going to say this: if there's NFL football, there will be college football. They have the same sport. They use the same size stadiums. They will adjust, and they are both so dependent on television money. At least the Power Five.
Couldn't be more different, Dave. Because in the NFL, they don't really care what your mama thinks. In college, they have to at least fake it and act like they do.
That is an excellent point, but I'm just sensing if there's on-campus classes, and it may be delayed by a month, but there will be college football if there is NFL football. They just
I hope you're right, Dave.
have to have it.
Dave, I hope you are right, because I'll tell you, every summer I love going. I mean, we're supposed to go to Atlanta for SEC Media Days this year. I'd hate for them to cancel that. So let's hope. By July we got a go signal.
Now I got a feeling those will be canceled. Every other conference except for the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC, as Brett mentioned earlier, those are the only three conferences still doing it. Everybody else is doing it virtually, and it'll be July. They can wait on this. They can do one where they don't even bring players to. Why take a chance with them? I don't think you'll see in this time slot we usually do.
There's not enough time.
That there will be a media day for any of those conferences.
And no shot at the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton. Cowboys Steelers, August 2nd, August 6th, no prayer. Not a chance it's happening.
Probably right. Yeah, I hope. I'm like the only NFL preseason fan left. I think I really love the preseason because I think
I love the Hall of Fame game.
yeah, Hall of Fame game is cool. Well, I mean, I picked it. It's a better handicapping thing in preseason, so I'm at least hoping they have that. But I'm just going to wait and see on the preseason. I'll take regular season, nothing else. But we'll see about preseason.
He is Bruce Marshall. He helped set the lines in Las Vegas, and he's also our historian. You can read him at thegoldsheet.com and a whole bunch more. Always go to that website. You will learn. I promise you. Bruce, how do we get even more of you?
Yeah, goldsheet.com. When we have some stuff more to write about, we'll be writing about it whenever we get things going. I'll put some best of stuff up there. I'm working on some other things right now, but good stuff. By the way, new idea. I got a thing. December 1965, I call it NFL Western Conference race down the stretch in December. It was the best pro football race I've ever remembered, and that's another thing I'm working on right now. I'll put some things about that in the Gold Sheet next fall.
Terrific. Thank you, Bruce. Stay safe. We'll talk to you
Bruce.
next week.
Okay, guys.
And as our friend Bruce Marshall. So yesterday, late in the day, we told you the news broke. The public golf courses, the city golf courses, are going to allow you to use golf carts for the first time since they've come back in their phase one of reopening. What else is in store? What are the new rules? We'll find out from the man himself. Mickey Barker is next.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Noseworthy.
Just little things, little steps that make you feel good. And we're getting some sad news here. Mike Storin, the father of Hannah Storm, and Mike was, and I'm thinking this off the top of my head, I know he was the general manager of, I want to say it was the ABA team, the TAMs here?
The last year when they were the Sounds.
Okay, when they were the
Prior
Sounds.
to that, he ran the Colonels and was ABA commissioner and had a stint with the Indiana Pacers. He was an ABA lifer.
He just passed away. I just saw that flash across on ESPN, and so he did spend some time. In fact, Hannah Storm used to actually babysit George Lapidus' children when they were really little. But Storm passed away today at the age of 85. Our condolences to him.
Hannah Storm went to high school here, I think, through 10th grade at White Station.
Wow. She is terrific, and, of course, she is the wife of Dan
Hicks.
Dan Hicks for NBC, the great golf and Olympic announcer, and really a nice guy. And so that is sad news, and we pass it along to the family of Hannah Storm, for sure. Her father has passed away. And he did spend some time as a sports administrator in the city of Memphis. In the meantime, speaking of administrators in the city of Memphis, the guy over all the golf for the city public golf courses is Mickey Barker. Good news. Carts are going to be back to being used. What made you, Mickey, come to that decision? Good afternoon.
Hi, Dave. How are you? Thanks for having me. Yes, it is finally a little bit of good news. Going to have carts available starting tomorrow at 5 of our courses. So we felt like we were to the point with our supplies, with our staff, that we were able to handle sanitizing of the carts going forward from Saturday.
Out of curiosity, how was the experiment with just walking? Did you get a lot of play?
It was good. We were very busy. Of course, we're still at 20-minute tee time intervals, so you have a very limited number. But several days we were completely booked at both Galloway, Audubon, and mostly booked at Meadows as well. We are completely booked for tomorrow at all 3 of those courses, and about 75% booked at Pine Hill tomorrow. So it's going to be a really busy day.
So basically, you still have to make reservations to go play golf, don't you?
Correct. You still have to make an advanced reservation. You can do that in the morning if you want to call before you head that way. Chances are we won't have any availability, but there are a few spots left at Pine Hill.
That is amazing. Mickey, one of the industries I think that has actually prospered during this pandemic, we know so many people have been hurt by this, the economy down, all the unemployment we talked about earlier. But the one area that I think is up is golf play.
It is. I've talked to several golf professionals around the area, and they're saying that it's really booming once that they were able to get over the initial closing or the extreme restrictions that we had at the beginning. Now that most everybody's back open, I did see that the last state opens up on the 11th, so there will be a golf course in all of the 50 states in the United States. So golf is really at the forefront of giving something for people to do.
As you've said, this is phase 1 of your reopening. Not the city. I'm talking about the golf course. You still have 3 that are closed in Riverside, in Overton, and in Crockett. What are your plans for two? I suspect it's going to be single carts, 20-minute times in between each tee time. I got the feeling that's going to be the way it's going to be for a while. What is phase 2?
Well, phase 2 for us will be shortening our tee time intervals, which we hope to go to next week. We're going to see how it goes this weekend with the 20-minute times on Saturday and Sunday. Given that it's going to be good weather, it's going to be busy, so we'll know for sure whether we're going to be able to shorten those intervals. We've gotten the okay from the city attorney to do that if we feel like it's feasible for our staff. What
does it jump from? If it goes from 20-minute interval to 16,
probably either 15 or 12. We're normally 10-minute tee times,
okay,
which is a big interval for a municipal system, but we've always been at 10 for the last 20 years, and so we feel like 12 or 15 would be plenty, but we still would not allow the walk-up, and that's the big thing on a regular basis. We have so many walk-ups that we kind of squeeze people in here or there in between those 10-minute times, so that's one of the differences you'll see from pre-COVID to now.
If you Mickey, any food or pro shop availability?
No, we're still remaining closed as far as the clubhouses. I mean, at some of them we're coming in to pay. It's just one person in, one person out. We have limited access, and we have limited access to the restrooms. A couple people in, a couple people out. Continue to do that, and we still remain closed as far as the food and beverage go.
If you were to go to 15 minutes, how many more rounds would that be?
Well, I haven't done the math on there, but it adds about a tee time, almost a tee time per every 2 hours. So you're looking at 4 to 6 additional players every hour or so. So it will increase play drastically.
This comes from a young man, our producer, Drew Barrett, who is a city golf course player, and this is important for him. Can you bring coolers now?
You can right now. We are not gonna run you off if you bring your own bottled water or beverages that golfers would choose to drink.
What does that mean, Mickey? Does that mean alcoholic beverages included?
We're going to say that you're perfectly fine bringing your own cooler for your beverages while the clubhouses are closed.
So you are rapidly. I mean, you're going to change the time in between. You're using carts now. When do you think you'll open up the other 3 golf courses?
Well, we don't know. We are pulling staff from all 3 of those courses to go to help staff our other courses. So unfortunately, we just don't have a timetable of opening those 3 courses. Plus, Overton Park itself is still closed, so we have to limit access to that golf course. It just doesn't make it feasible. We are hearing rumors of the zoo or Overton Park may be opening on a limited basis somewhere down the road. So maybe we're not too far off from opening Overton up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I saw something on the zoo pretty quick here at like 30% capacity or something of that nature. We'll double check that.
Right.
Mickey, thank you so much. Well, I'm sure we'll touch base with you sometime soon. Congratulations on moving forward. I may have to go out there just for R&D, Got to do these things.
You should.
Yeah.
You should, because the golf courses are in really good shape right now.
Well, I pass it by on Walnut Grove a lot, and it looks spectacular. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. That is Mickey Barker over all of the city golf courses. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and I got a reminder. They want to make staying at home even more enjoyable for you and your entire family this summer. Let's take advantage with the pools. Like complete pool packages starting at $15.99. The 24-foot pools only $19.99. Same price for 4-person spas. How about swim spas starting at $99.99, under $10,000. High-quality swing sets. Listen to this discount. To $21.99 from $34.99. What a swing that is. And they're offering contractless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup. All you got to do is schedule an appointment, then place an order, and please stay safe. The best way to do that, call and let them bring it to you at Family Leisure, I-40 and Whidden Road. We are back in a minute. When we do return, we will head to Knoxville. And Vince Ferreira from WNML in Knoxville on a number of things, including the way the Vols are killing it in recruiting. That is next.
Hi, everybody, The Herd. Over 50 years ago, 2 men with a passion for motorsport and engineering began building race engines in an old abandoned mill. They saw an opportunity on every wide open road and an invitation in every curve. It was a chance to push the envelope, break all the rules. It was a chance to prove that a 2-ton family sedan could have the performance to compete in a 24-hour track race. But shocking the competition and building a reputation, it wasn't enough. Their vision was to expand upon the excellence they had created. This engineering company continued to validate their belief by putting race car engines in luxury sedans and proceeded to stun the elite in world motor racing by winning and winning and winning. We may never truly understand what drives Mercedes-AMG to break barriers, along with every record in the book, but here's to allowing us to enjoy the results. Learn more at mbusa.com/AMG. Mercedes-AMG. Driving performance.
If you could hear a DQ treat, what would it sound like? A Blizzard treat sounds like family board game night. A Sunday sounds like an indoor movie marathon. And a Fudge and Crunch cake sounds like a birthday wish come true. Ah, the sweet sound of treats. Use takeout or visit the DQ drive-thru for all your favorites. Thank you for making us part of your together.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Periscope. Don't miss out on anything. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in on a glorious, what is turning out to be a beautiful Friday afternoon. Wolo and Stats with you until 6 o'clock on a day that Beale Street now is going to reopen. No more than 10-person gatherings. Can't take alcohol outside. No live music, but baby steps, ladies and gentlemen. Baby steps. Even Southland Gaming and Racing is going to open on the 18th, and I have no idea how they're going to do that, Brett. I really do not know, but I'm sure they'll figure out a way. So we are taking little steps. You just heard from Mickey. That was encouraging. They are maybe going to even shrink the time between tee times. You can now get in a golf cart to go golfing on the city courses, and look at how busy they've been. That stuff is outstanding. So I know the numbers about unemployment were really a bummer today, but I think we're taking the baby steps. We're getting a little bit better.
I hope so, Dave. I sure hope
too.
so. They were the unemployment numbers were historically tragic. I mean, when you think we were at 3.7 full employment. I mean, if you wanted a job, you had one.
8 weeks ago,
the biggest deadbeats going had a good job 8 weeks ago, and now there are a lot of people that are really suffering. And we had the news of the doctor yesterday that said there would be no fans in Neyland Stadium this fall for football, but we know Jeremy Pruitt is going to put a pretty good team on the field, and he is really racking up for the future. To visit with us about that from WNML in Knoxville, Vince Ferrara joins us now. You can follow Vince on Twitter at Vince Sports. Vince Ferrara, how are you? A lot of news out of Knoxville these days.
No doubt. I'm good. Brent and Dave, hope you guys are as well.
We are.
Staying healthy, and there's no shortage of things to talk about. I know there's that narrative. Oh, there's no sports going on. No, between the NFL, thank you so much, and
Yes.
and recruiting here, it's been a very cool thing.
and also,
And you're a big Buccaneers fan, right, Vince?
Yeah, it's my hometown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's as fired up and as hyped as they've been in a long time, including the Gruden Super Bowl year. So they're just super giddy about having some attention on them as opposed to just being under the radar like they typically are.
Well, the over-under on them was, I saw today, I think Vegas 10-6. So that is a pretty good number for a team that, made little steps here. It is exciting for them. There was a little, I'm not going to call it a controversy at all, but there was an interesting thing that occurred yesterday. The gentleman that is second in command at the University of Tennessee Health Sciences school here, the medical school, and is also involved at a very high level with Lebanon Children's Hospital, made the statement that he thought there would be nobody in Neyland Stadium allowed this fall. There would be no fans in the stands at Tennessee football games. I don't believe he said there wouldn't be football, but no fans. And then the chancellor and the athletic director at the university put out statements to the contrary, saying, we haven't really made any total decisions, and if we were to make any kind of prognostication here, it would be that we are planning on having folks in the stands, but we will be, of course, checked by the governmental officials and health officials before any final rules are put into place. What was your sense yesterday if you saw Dr. McCullough's statement and the response by the university?
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, as soon as we saw it, we were on the air, so we were reacting to it and discussing it with our listeners. And I don't discredit him and his credentials and his knowledge and insight. But my thing is similar to the university. Why anyone is taking hard line, no budge, absolute type of stances for any kind of predictions. I don't know why you do that when things change, not just month to month, week to week, day to day. Things are changing, and there could be new ways to execute things that people aren't thinking of right now. So that was my big thing is, yes, even with your knowledge, expertise, opinions, or say I would be surprised, whatever, but he didn't really leave any budge room in his stance. So that was the part of it that, to me, I disagreed with. And, clearly the university is taking that approach. And I think that's the smart play is let's see how this develops. We're going to try to plan for different scenarios, but we don't have to make a decision right now. Let's get more information. Let's get closer to it, see where we're at, what changes, and then we can decide. It was a very positive step that the university joined in. I guess Tennessee is one of about 7 schools that have said that they plan on having an open campus and having students on campus this fall. And I think it would be difficult to have football without the students on campus, but this doesn't guarantee you're going to have it. But I think it was an important step, and we'll see how long it takes for others to make that decision. But again, it's contingent on if things don't change. If we continue on this track of improving, you can't really take a hardline stance on anything. I don't think the way with what we're dealing with right now.
Dave, you'll love this. Vince is from Tampa, and he's friends with TJ Reeves. Vince is on with us every week, so all of us friends with TJ. And also, Dave, You'll love this about Vince. When he said he was on the air when the news was breaking about the doctor, of course he was, because Vince is always on the air and even takes on the unenviable task of a Sunday morning first reaction to college football show. Whoo, those phone lines. I bet they're beautiful, Vince.
Yeah, usually Jimmy Himes is in the middle of those during the football season, obviously the morning after, and Jimmy's been doing on that show for many, many years, Sunday Sports Sound Off, and we usually get callers from all around the state. It's crazy. That is like the reaction show, sometimes with the late night kickoffs on Saturday nights, you don't get a chance to react then. So people stir on it, sleep on it, and then are just can't wait.
Vince, they're not sleeping. They're staying up waiting till y'all come on the air.
This is true. This is true. That's a good point.
Along those lines, you probably in your entire career never had a turnaround from the start of a season to the end of one with your callers than you must have had last year.
Definitely, because people were furious early in the year, and you started to hear the comparisons to Butch and Dooley. It's the same old, 3-star recruiting, and this guy can't get it done, and on and on. And yeah, there was big time frustration. I'm not saying it was everyone across the board wanted him fired, but we took some of those phone calls with their 1-4 start, especially the way they were housed against Florida. And it just shows when the way that team turned around. Like you said, I don't remember seeing that kind of turnaround, because we definitely didn't see anyone have a bigger turnaround last year. They were the turnaround story of college football a year ago. And, I heard, I respect Pat Dooley big time, but he was on our station and he mentioned how they didn't really beat anyone during that stretch of 6 wins. And I get that. Yes, Indiana, Kentucky, probably their most noteworthy wins. But guess what they weren't doing?
But they won
earlier in the year. Yeah, they weren't even winning
those
games.
Winning. That's right.
So handling in the ball games, winning, not going in the tank, responding to the coach. I mean, all those things were progress from where you're at. So, yeah, he's going to have to get some big wins moving forward. But that was still progress. And you know what? They don't do, and I know we'll get to it, they don't do what they're doing now without showing the progress. They don't do what they're doing now in recruiting without showing that progress on the field last year. So it was amazing. Seniors were a big part of that. And Pruitt admitting after year one that he needed to spend more time on relationships with his players so they would play harder for him. I think that paid off because he did do that. The players said he did it, and they fought for him, and they rallied together after that Florida game, especially the seniors, and made a determination that they weren't going to go in the tank and they were going to figure it out. So, I've never
Vince,
seen anything like that within a season.
I'm big on him. I'm as bullish on him as anybody out there. In fact, the year he was hired was the same year that Texas A&M hired Jimbo Fisher, and I know that had all the splash and it got all the headlines for a lot of reasons, being A&M, and we've only been hearing about the building A&M super monster. I've been hearing it about 40 years, and I haven't seen it yet. But anyway, Jimbo Fisher, the latest one, going to really do something big at College Station. And I said the best hire of that year for the open jobs was Jeremy Pruitt, and he would win big there. I don't know that this year is the big corner turner for him, but tell me the game that I know Alabama, and it's not third Saturday of October this year. It's actually the fourth Saturday. I know that one, Florida or Georgia, is easy. But which one? What's a game he could win? And then the Tennessee diehards, the Tennessee faithful, they know we got us a big-time coach.
Well, I think Florida, because I think that would be the one that it would be, because they want that game more than anything, the larger portion of the fan base. They want that one, and so that's the game, I think, where they're going to get. That would be, it wouldn't guarantee success the rest of the year, but that would be the game that people would point to as more of that validation stamp of approval. We got our guy, and they're feeling that right now with the recruiting success that they're having. They're absolutely chest out and feeling great, and I don't necessarily blame them because it is significant, but it doesn't necessarily translate into this year because those guys won't be on campus yet. But I still think Florida, Georgia, those would be the ones that would show. Sure, if they beat Oklahoma, that's going to be noteworthy.
That's mine.
Week 2. I don't think they're ready for that, especially on the road or in Alabama yet. But I think at least Florida, Georgia would be in play to win singular games. I still wouldn't pick them to be higher than them in the standings, but they're creeping up. But those would be the ones that I think fans would love and give them that marquee win that they could really be excited about.
Sure, you win one of those, and you're putting yourself in position to win the division. And,
right, another factor.
And that the fan base starts to really go crazy for you. I thought it was very interesting, Vince, when you said part of it was he had to have better relationships with his players, and he was smart enough to know that, and it's paid off. And if he hadn't, then he wouldn't be in a position, as you said, to get these guys. But there's got to be more. How in the world do you go, as you mentioned, from 3-star guys to getting all these 5-star guys and 4-star guys that he has picked up in the last couple of weeks? I mean, it's a heck of a story.
It is, and to me, when I've discussed this, however many choices you give or things that you can point to, whether it's E, F, or Z, of all the choices, it's all the above, because you don't achieve what they've achieved, where it was 8 commits in a 9-day period. Another haul should be coming this weekend, this Mother's Day weekend. So you're gonna probably get up above 20, 21, maybe even more. You don't do what they've done when they're sitting at 7 commits with just 1 4-star on March 29th, and people then were complaining about recruiting for the 2021 class. You don't have this kind of turnaround with a couple of 5-stars on 24/7, some high-level 4-stars, an elite pass rusher and Dylan Brooks that they have been desperately looking for, filling other needs, having the momentum and being the talk of college football outside of the pandemic because of what they're doing. You don't do all of that if there's not a long list of things. I think they have a younger coaching staff that really knows how to handle the technology, and it was doing some of that even before they were forced in period. also they have high-level recruiters. They go on 24/7 to 4 of the top 16 or 17 recruiters in the rankings right now. Derek Ansley really connects with his players. They do what Alabama does, and they group recruit. They don't just rely on one guy. They're terrific on social media, especially Brian Niedermeyer, who's in touch with a lot of those kids. So there's a longer list. And also their players, their seniors last year were important in helping sell what the future was with Jeremy Pruitt. And their current players right now, their leaders on the team that are the hosts, they really believe in Jeremy Pruitt, and they pass that message along to recruits. And obviously the playing time opportunity is there for them, but that's been the case for Tennessee for a while where they could sell playing time. And again, like we talked about, if you didn't have that piece of finishing strong, and if this team was 5-7, you weren't going to have the guys that you've been building relationships with for a couple of years in Alabama and North Carolina, where they're killing it right now with the coaches and the players. Those relationships wouldn't blossom to the point of bringing them on board if you didn't show the progress, because then you'd still be negatively recruited right now. So it's all of those things really coming together and then just riding that momentum with not much else going on for people to look at and talk about.
Vince, what about the comfortability as Jeremy Pruitt developing as an offensive coach? We knew he would recruit well. We know he can coach defense. We know he's tough and hard-nosed. But the label on defensive coaches, it's hard for defensive coaches to get a job now because that doesn't ring a lot of chimes at the press conference when you hire defensive guy. We want hot shot offense now, and I don't blame ADs for that. And I think about Will Muschamp at Florida and how Charlie Weiss really hindered his development. I think about a coach, Bill Arnsparger at LSU. He was a classic defensive guy coming from the pros. Charlie Strong at Texas. Those guys really never developed as offensive coaches. How's Jeremy Pruitt doing that?
Well, and Ed Ogeron changed his ways with his offense last year. So yeah, we've seen a lot of recent examples as well. I think it's an interesting topic, Brett. He has more offensive coaches, 6, versus defensive coaches, 4. And we know he spends a lot more time on defense, and he's referred to Jim Chaney as his head coach of the offense, which is the way I kind of called him even before Pruitt did, because I think that was what the best avenue was. I'm not saying Pruitt is involved, but Jim Chaney is the guy that's doing the ins and outs of that offense. Plus, he has a lot of assistants. They've done a lot of bringing in analysts as well. So they do a lot on offense. They have a lot of different minds in that room. And I think another part of it is his evolution as a head coach. Is one of the guys that they're likely to get this weekend is a 4-star quarterback from Texas in Caden Salter. And he's a dual threat type of quarterback, and I think he's starting to realize that that's college football now. A lot of the guys that they've recruited in the past have been pocket passers. So I've seen him evolve in a lot of different ways besides the relationships and things like that. But he has the guys to where he's comfortable with, hey, I can spend more time here than here. This is what college football is today. So it does show his progression as a head coach. I think he believes in explosive plays and different ways of succeeding. He certainly still likes the big players that can run, and that's something that's old school in him. Those aspects won't leave him. But I think he has evolved as a coach. Saban did it. He was right there when Saban evolved, even as a defensive coach. So he's smart enough to know that, hey, I have my principles for football, but it's 2020 moving forward, and I have to be willing to do these other things. And to his credit, he is open to those things.
How about his evolution with the media or with the boosters?
Well, for sure. He's made progress in that area as well, Dave. And I think you can look at the way he's handled press conferences even before we got to this pandemic. Last year, whether it was adversity or where he didn't make excuses, when they'd lose games, he didn't want to talk about moral victories, which is something that we get intimated and discussed a lot during the Butch Jones era when they'd win ball games. Sometimes he wouldn't be satisfied with just winning ball games because he said and wasn't afraid to say they're about winning championships here. We gotta take steps towards it, but we're about winning championships here. So the fact that he doesn't make excuses, I think that resonates with the fan base and certainly the boosters as well. And in the way he's handled this whole COVID-19, I think has been as good as anyone in the country in terms of head coaches that I've heard. He's not talking about football. He's not forcing that down his throat. I think he's changed his image in that it's about the players. It's about our country. It's about the health of them first and foremost. And I think that it connects, and don't think that doesn't translate when he's talking about the kids as people and how they're staying healthy with the parents when they're right there jumping on those Zoom videos. So I think all of that, the way he's handled that and his evolution in terms of what he does publicly and in recruiting has been huge. And I think it's paying dividends for him for sure. Now, wait, when we get to the season, if they have a really bad loss, early in the year or whatever, and there's greater expectations, that's another hurdle that he hadn't seen in front of him before. Well, to be determined how he handles that.
Like the Oklahoma game, yeah.
Well, go for the touchdown. Don't kick the field goal, and then at least you have that going for you.
Vince, we thank you so much. I know if you're on the air as much as Brett says you are,
he is marathon man.
You are cooking up ways, things to say, and we really enjoyed. Story just keeps getting better, honestly, because if you'd said to me after Game 5, do I think Jeremy Pruitt was going to make it at Tennessee, I probably would not have bet a lot of money on that. And now, not only did he turn the year around in dramatic fashion, but the way he's recruiting, it's a heck of a story, and it may be the rebirth of this giant on the east portion of our state.
Well, and that's why I've said the way fans are reacting, as excited as they are about recruiting, I don't blame them because they've shown a much greater ability to develop players versus the previous staff. And if they can develop and get elite players, that's how you can do things special. Not just developing lower-end players or guys that don't have the measurables. You need elite players. You need development and coaching. That's how you win championships. You need all of the above. And when you got the development, you have the elite players. That's how you can get something cooking. So this topic isn't going away anytime soon, and we're thankful for that. And during this period, you schedule great guests, and that's a big part of it. There's no reason why you can't still have compelling radio during the alleged no sports time.
You're right about that, and you were terrific today. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you down the road, I am certain.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for having me. You guys stay safe and healthy out there.
You too. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Vince Ferreira from WNML in Knoxville.
Great point about player development, Dave. You can flood the zone all you want with 4s and 5s and everybody wanting to handle, touch the ball and be the guy. But you got to get them there, and that player has to, even that 4 or 5 star. He's got to be better when he leaves as a junior than the day you got him as a freshman. If he's the same guy, he could have gone anywhere and gotten that.
No doubt. And they sure got better, and they did not quit on him after that 1-4 start. That was impressive for certain. I can tell you how I can impress you. It's just by telling you about Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch, right there at Craft Road at Highway 78, the very first exit in Mississippi. You look a little bit to your east, and there you'll see this great dealership. I think it is the standard, the bar for all the car dealers in America, for that matter, let alone this region. It starts with 0% financing for 84 months on all their new cars. 0% financing for 84 months. And you've got 120 days before you have to make your first payment on select models. That could be on the Hyundai Santa Fe, which I used to drive. It could be on the Genesis G70, which I drive now. That's the fastest car I've ever had. That's the luxury performance car the Genesis makes. They've got different modes. If I put it on the sport mode, not only does it accelerate faster, but it does something with the frame which allows it to take turns and hold the road better. I don't know how it works. I just know that it does. And the other thing, it's full of safety. I push another button and I can't go across the lines. It basically warns me and stops me. If I put it on cruise control, it literally will stop my car before I hit something in front of me. It's just amazing. And they last forever. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car on the lot. Go see for yourself. Go see Chris True. You can thank me later. They are the best at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Bill Harder is our friend. He's also one of the heads of the bank at First Bank, and they've been very busy during this pandemic. We'll check in with him in just a minute. That is next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
If you could hear a DQ treat, what would it sound like? A Blizzard treat sounds like family board game night. A Sunday sounds like an indoor movie marathon. And a Fudge and Crunch cake sounds like a birthday wish come true. Ah, the sweet sound of treats. Use takeout or visit the DQ drive-thru for all your favorites. Thank you for making us part of your together.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Halfway through our Friday on what is turning out to be a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It's always fun to chat with our friend Bill Harder, who is with First Bank and has been very, very busy along with the PPP loans and all the stimulus money. I know you are probably doing more work now, Bill, than maybe you've done in the usual time period. And I've seen you busy in similar circumstances when we had issues. You were ahead of the Memphis Redbirds back when there was a stoppage of play. So you know all about this kind of stuff. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great.
We're doing well, Bill. And you ran the Redbirds in 2008 during the economic meltdown, and that was in the fall of 2008, but it really lasted into the next spring, Bill. From running a sports team, what's your view of how things are going? I know you and your wife, y'all, we see you at everything. We see you at Redbirds. We see y'all out at Grizzlies and Tigers. We miss the Redbirds, and they're going through a tough time, aren't they?
Well, I would think it would not be easy for them. Minor league sports, and I don't care whether it's baseball or any other form of minor league sports, they run on very, very thin margins, Brett. And at any time where you have interruption of revenue coming in, it makes it difficult for them. They still have to make their rent payments. They still have to pay certain personnel, not necessarily all of them, but it puts a lot of strain on the budget for these organizations.
And in this one now in particular, now you got two organizations,
That's right.
same ownership group with 901 FC. I have no idea what they're doing about the players there, or they have some stadium personnel that really are doing double duty. They're working for both clubs, but in this particular case, now you've got another ball club you got to worry about.
Well, that's absolutely right. Now I don't know how they double up on the staff under the current situation, but I do know, like back in 2008, we would have probably been in a position where we would have to lay off some personnel, just for the standpoint that there just was no revenue to come in to cover their salaries. You still have your rent on the stadium, which is, and that's between them and the city, I believe. But you got your fixed costs there, and those costs don't go away. And
That's right.
And then when you come out of it, some of the issues it just depends on how quickly you come out of the downturn on how wealthy people feel. Of course, this is different than 2008 because we also have the issue of how comfortable people are being around other folks. But if you come out and you don't feel like you have quite the disposable income that you had going into the crisis, instead of going to 10 ball games this season, maybe you go to 5, okay? And so you may not cut your attendance out completely, but fans will cut them back. So, and we saw that in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, and I'm sure you had people maybe wanting to back out of suite obligations.
Well, there was a few instances that companies had suite obligations, tried to back out of their obligations simply because they were in crisis mode.
Right, and we are now, and you've been very busy, and y'all been very busy at First Bank, Bill. You know how much we appreciate you here at Flynn Broadcasting and at WHBQ. We thank y'all so much. You've stuck with us and by us through thicker, and sometimes thin. We appreciate it. We know you've been busy handling the PPP loans, and you weren't overwhelmed. You were able to handle them all with resounding success.
Well, I would, we're kind of proud of our response on the PPP loans. We're a bank that we were able to kind of change gears very, very quickly. We assigned 300 of our associates statewide to work on the PPP program when it was initiated on April the 4th, and through May 1st of this year, we did handle over 2,500 applications. That represented about $328 million in total loans. But more impressive, that represented over 45,000 potential employees that could have been laid off. And that's the thing that we take the most pride in, the fact that we were able to keep people, help our clients, keep people employed.
In this other swing, too, there have been self-employment loans that have now come through this second wave of stimulus money. I'm sure there's even more people that you have helped. As a banker, tell me your sense of how you think the government has done in aiding those employees and businesses.
Well, I think the government. I don't try to be political, but I think the government's done a good job of recognizing that people are hurting, and this isn't a financial crisis as much as it was a crisis created for the benefit of everybody from a health standpoint. So, I think everybody fully understands what happened and why it happened. I think we were very happy to participate in these programs. We were in mid-March, we're very active going out, contacting our clients, whether they were retail or consumer clients or commercial clients, talking to them. We've instituted a deferral program for people where they can defer their loan payments to the bank for a period of time to get them through this crisis period until they kind of get back on their feet. So I think from an organization and from the government standpoint, I think everybody's kind of teamed up together to try to help get the American public through this.
Do you sense we may have another round of business stimulus money, or do you think we're starting to open up and the economy will be able to take care of itself?
To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. There's numerous bills going through Congress at this time, and who knows what's actually going to come out. There's discussion that there's, additional round of stimulus. There's talks of forgiveness of payroll taxes, which, would be a big benefit in terms of recovery. But, what happens out of Washington, we actually have no idea at this point.
And Bill, we talk every day in the advertising about First Bank, how important a community bank, a local bank that the people in there and they know you, where you're not a number. And I think through these PPP loans, every story you hear, I went to a big regional bank and they didn't have a clue who I was. It was a nightmare on their website. I got denied or I got frustrated. I go to a local community bank. Voila, I got my loan.
Well, Brett, it's the difference between, how close you are to the community, okay? If you're dealing with a large nationally branded bank, decisions are made 3, 4, 5 states away, in some cases half a continent away. You deal with a local bank and you're dealing with people who are part of your community. They're involved in your community. What's good for the community is good for the bank. And I think, you see a lot of home-based type local interest going on with these with the community banks that you don't see in some of the larger banks.
I think, Bill, it's always been a strength of yours since I met you when you were running the Redbirds. And the same thing with banking, and this is why we love First Bank, it's relationships. Yeah, if you've got a banker that and you hear about because that's the first thing. Like, what was this PPP? Oh, what?
Yeah,
they're going to give.
They're in there swinging for it.
They're going to. It's going to be a forgivable loan. I got to call my banker to find out about this, and then I call Bill Harder, and Bill Harder goes, "Don't worry, we'll take care of this for you." That's relationship banking. That's what community banks do, in my mind.
It's absolutely correct. That's right.
And you guys have done a heck of a job. Are you busier this period of time than you were a year ago?
Oh, yes. I'd say from the time that the portal opened on the PPP loans, we were extremely busy all the way up to the 1st of May. Now that most people have gotten their PPP loans, it's slowed back down a little bit more to normal. But there's a lot of back end work that's involved with this that a lot of clients and the public doesn't realize that the banks are doing. But overall, we were very, very busy there for throughout the month of April. Long hours, long days, and to get applications processed and into the SBA.
I got to get a hold of you now because this is this is when I can get him on the golf course. His golf game is going to be terrible.
That's right. And Bill, don't give him a single shot. Do not give Dave a shot, not one. Now Bill, we've kind of gotten the business aspect out of the way. Rapid fire round. I don't know if y'all have seen this news. It's breaking. Anybody got any stray Joe Jackson cards laying around the house? Because a 1910 card sold today for $492,000.
Oh my goodness!
Shoeless Joe.
You got any in your? You got any back in Iowa, Bill? Back at your mom's or anything?
Well, I tell you what, I'm probably going up there in a couple of weeks, so I'll go up and
Be
check.
checking.
So
Go look.
I had an old Mickey Mantle card, and but I don't think it was a rookie card. It was an early season one, but. No, I'll have to go look. I don't think I have any Joe Jackson. So.
All right, Bill, come WGC FESJI, and we had you on with us. Y'all were part of the great sponsorship team that we had out there last year, and we had you with us on Friday afternoon. Do you think we have golf at TPC Southwind late July with fans?
Boy, I don't know. I was actually out at Southwind about a week and half ago, and right after they reopened, and I asked the pros out there what they thought, and including the greenskeeper, and I don't think anybody knows at this point. I think they're guessing. I asked them, I says, are they going to start erecting all the the grandstands and everything? And he said they were planning on erecting the grandstands starting, I think, at the end of May, 1st of June. But whether those grandstands will be full of people or not, I don't think anybody knows at this point.
No, and
we need the Charles Schwab to go off flawlessly in 4 or 5 weeks.
I think that will. I really believe that. Next week is going to be that McElroy Fowler deal, and that'll be on TV. So we'll see how that plays out.
It's Seminole,
and then you got Tiger and Phil, and that's 2 weeks later, and then here we go. We've got the Schwab, and I'm pretty sure that'll go off because there's not going to be people.
Yeah.
The thing I wonder, not just will there be stands erected, but what will those stands look like? Will there be skyboxes, or are we not going to do that this year? I don't think we know yet.
Dave, I agree with you. I don't think we know. I think, it could be conceivable that they have ground spectators, but they don't. People aren't in the suites and that. So, because people can spread out more on the ground.
Right, exactly.
So,
it'll be like the old days where you just had ropes, and there were no stands.
Yeah, I have to tell you, we're I'm dying for live sports, and my son, who moved back from Birmingham, to take a new job here, he actually has been up a few nights watching live South Korean baseball. So.
You have got to be a junkie for that, because I asked Mike, the guy that I think is the biggest baseball fan of all, if he did that, and Brett Norsworthy said no.
Can't do it. All right, Bill, getaway question. Whenever we get Major League Baseball back, no matter what division the Cardinals are in, we top the Cubs, don't we?
Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, I got to be diplomatic on this because I'm sure we have a lot of Cub fans as clients.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, you sound like Michael Jordan saying Republicans buy shoes too.
Well, they do.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
But no matter how it comes back, I will enjoy watching baseball because I'm very
Me too.
very tired of watching replays. So
just remember this: Cub fans bank, Bill. Cub fans bank.
They do. They do bank.
That's right.
Thank you, Bill Harder. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Gentlemen, we appreciate you being on the air, and we're very, very proud to be a sponsor of Sports 56.
We can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Hope you and your family stay safe.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bill Harder from First Bank, and he has, as you said, he has stuck with us through thick and through thin, and we truly appreciate that. Another company that has done that exact same thing is the Commissary, Collierville and Germantown. And when we come back, have you laid the groundwork for any?
I didn't tease it earlier. I forgot to earlier, so it's going to be difficult. I meant to give it away earlier, and I didn't. But we were talking about. We almost walked into it with Bruce Marshall, and I didn't get the right opening for it. But one thing I said yesterday, I love to go through and see the dome teams with their road games.
Right.
So you know they're going to play 8 games at home, and then how many on the road do they also play in domes? Here's the question for Germantown Commissary, Big Q of the Day 6-pack at either in Collierville or in Germantown. How many dome or retractable, either fixed roof or retractable, stadia do we have now out of 32 NFL teams? How many? I'll give a plus or minus 1 on it, too.
Wow, that's generous. So the question basically is, how many NFL
How many
teams
domes?
play in domes?
Yeah.
Okay. For a 6-pack of Germantown Commissary or Collierville Commissary, your pick, and I mean the good stuff. You know that. You get a 6-pack on us, and we do that at 360-8255. We do that when we come back next.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Commitment, dedication, perseverance. At FedEx, our people are our strength. Even during these unprecedented times, we are delivering medical supplies, test kits, and the things you need every day. Helping the world move forward together. Strength, what we deliver by delivering. FedEx.
Central Barbecue is committed to the health and safety of this community, who has supported Central for almost 20 years. Central Barbecue is still open for business with to-go and delivery options to serve the greater Memphis area with the same great barbecue you have come to know and love. With 4 locations to serve you, from downtown, midtown, and East Memphis, you can order your favorite barbecue and enjoy everything on the menu in the comfort of your own home. Call your nearest Central Barbecue location for more information on delivery and to-go options today.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshyn and Brett Norsworthy.
Cruising through our second hour on this really nice Friday afternoon. The Big Q, the Germantown Commissary, Collierville Commissary question is, how many NFL teams have domes? I can see, Brett, why. I decided I was going to really quick look up standings and just figure it out for myself because I know all the stadiums, and I realized why, this might be a hint, why you were going to give somebody a plus minus of 1. Now, I've seen the one that you put up there, the number, and we're going to have to go over this when we are done, because that's not
Remember
the number.
the new one.
I've remembered that, and that's where I got to my final number. But you've got more than I've got, so we'll have to sort all of that. I do want to know the winner. I want to let everybody know the winner gets a 6-pack of Germantown Commissary, Collierville Commissary. You can pick that up at either place. And if you're picking up, you could still pick up. But now you know Walker Taylor and his crew, they've worked their tail offs to make sure everything is absolutely sanitized. Everything is as clean as could be. There is social distancing within the restaurant. You can go in. Walker Taylor is absolutely open for business. You can still do curbside in Germantown. You can do the drive-through in Collierville, but you can go in for your ribs and your shoulder, that great barbecue, the deviled eggs, the ice box lemon pie. You can now go in both locations. Germantown, in a little quaint neighborhood right now, or the store in Collierville, the newer one at Houston Levee and Poplar Road. So, Paul, we'll start with you. How many Dome Stadium for a Germantown Commissary six-pack are there in the National Football League?
How many teams can play in one? How many teams?
How many teams can play in one? So now I got it. That's exactly why. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Stats. I'm not very clear about what do you mean? How many teams?
Well, 2 teams play in one stadium.
That's right.
Oh, okay. So, I think there's 5 retractable dome stadiums. So I guess my answer would be 10 teams.
Well, that's within plus or minus one. It's 11 teams.
11.
Yes.
Because the Los Angeles Chargers and Rams will share Stan Kroenke's Palace.
Right. And don't forget, if you were looking at the standings to try to figure this out, you saw Oakland. Well, Oakland's now Vegas.
They're in Vegas.
So there's 3 teams in those 2 cities right there that did not have dome stadiums a year ago.
Yeah, but those stadiums are not actually open for competition now.
Well, they will be.
They will be this year.
In time for the National Football League season. He said, "How many teams this year will be dome teams?"
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
you won. Don't argue.
Okay. I'm not arguing.
Take yes for an answer, Paul.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Now, Paul, your reluctance might be well founded. Do the Raiders play a year at UNLV Stadium, or do they go into the new dome this year?
I think it's supposed to be open this year.
Right. I don't think anybody knows that.
Well, it's supposed to be open this year. I know for sure the one.
Was that your reluctance, Paul?
I'm sorry?
Was that your reluctance?
That was my reluctance.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Take yes for an answer, Paul.
And we're honestly we're glad that you play. We're glad that you listen. We're glad that we could give you a 6-pack at Germantown or Collierville Commissary. You got it. We're going to put you on hold, and we will send this out to you. Drew will get all of the information. You know, our friend David Cobb has been busy. Did you see the story he wrote on the new CBS poll? And he's got the U of M 22 in the country. That's ahead of UCF at 25. It's ahead of Boise at 24. So I don't think they revealed the whole poll yet, but I'm guessing that Memphis will be the highest of the group of 5.
Probably so, and what a launching pad for them. And I know you can't have it back, but what if they had defeated Penn State? So often the Sugar Hive winning the Cotton Bowl or the Sugar Bowl carries you, really vaults you into the next year. But 22 is a good starting spot for them with all the players they have returning. And here's an opening for Memphis and for non-Power 5 teams. Those Power 5 teams that can't or don't want to go this year, if I'm Memphis, if I'm Boise, and I go this year, I think that will be remembered by conferences and will be appreciated by them for jumping out there and playing if they can, if it's safe, if it's smart, and all the parameters around safety. But some league will look at them and go, hey, in college football's darkest hour, they plowed on. We're going to reward them.
Well, before the darkest hour, came, you refer back to that Cotton Bowl. Look at the contingent of people that Memphis brought to Dallas, and I keep going back, and Memphis had the ball down a score, and they were going to drive, and unfortunately they turned the ball over deep in their territory. But
move the football all day.
They did. I mean, they showed they belonged with the big boys.
They showed they belonged.
Yeah,
they sure did.
And
Dave.
that was so much fun.
And it was. And next year in college football, it'll be a little bit of dog eat dog survival of the. But it always is. But it'll be a real survival of the fittest next year in college football on who can go and who can't, because we could be making up schedules on the fly like the darn Barnstormer leagues.
Well, I would have no problem if on September the 12th, because Memphis is supposed to get into a charter and go play a Big Ten team, and who is Ole Miss scheduled to play on the 12th?
Well, on the 12th they have SEMO, so that will be.
That could bust there, yeah. No, that would be a hard one for us.
But SEMO's coming to Oxford, but the one that could be volatile for Ole Miss is opening game against Baylor. That could.
Yeah, but honestly, I mean, it's a short trip to Houston. Isn't that where that game is, in Energy Stadium?
Yes.
One of those domes you just referred to.
That's it.
Yeah.
For the Texans. And already had sold. I think Ole Miss has sold about 20,000 tickets. That Ole Miss was at 21,000 full season ticket packages sold before this hit, and it is.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was on the way to 40,000. People are excited about the Lane Train. They are
incredible.
We are
21,000 season tickets
full
sold.
package already had been sold,
and 20,000 to go to Houston.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
my buddy that runs that game for the Texans, and he also runs that bowl. 2 years ago, Ole Miss may have taken 4,500. Texas Tech maybe 6 or 7. Well, Baylor coming off the Sugar Bowl, they had sold about 25 or 30, and Ole Miss was at about 20.
Man, so how many total people you think were in Energy Stadium for that game with Texas Tech?
Dave, honestly, 11 o'clock kickoff, first Saturday, full Saturday of the year, maybe 20,000.
Wow.
Maybe 25 if you just counted everybody on the property.
And you're telling me they had more than doubled that already this early?
Just from Ole Miss?
Yeah. That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
Well, and look, it's just a fact. There was a lot of budget money there for hadn't been to bowl games in the last few years.
Yep. That's 2 hours in the books, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, one of my favorite guests, that's Andy Schiffman, our agent, normally in Chicago, but he's been back with his family in Memphis. I think he's still here. I'm curious about what that NBA phone call today, that conference call with all the players, was all about. He may have the skinny when he is with us, and that is next.
At AutoZone, we've always been here to help you get what you need to go where you need. That hasn't changed. In need of an oil change? Right now you can get 5 quarts of Castrol GTX high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And if you need something fast, you can get it fast, your way. Whether it's next day delivery or free same day pickup, in store or curbside, the choice is yours. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Restrictions and details on AutoZone.com.
Do you get into bed and find your mind still going? If so, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's liquid melatonin. It's made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next day grogginess. Pure Z's liquid melatonin, because sleep is a beautiful thing, at stores now.
Right now, more than 125,000 children are waiting to be adopted from foster care. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption works around the clock to find them the permanent, loving homes they deserve. You can help. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1 FM, and 87.7 FM. As well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Google or Alexa to play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned to real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
So much optimism coming from the NBA today. Very fair questions asked, and I assume answered by that great leadership, both in the commissioner's office and at the Players Association level. Our friend Andy Schiffman will fill us in on what he knows about the discussions today after I tell you about the title sponsor of this hour, and that's DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Go online if you'd like and read all the happy referrals and very pleased customers at DeSotoAutoSales.com. All the cars at DeSoto Auto Sales test-driven, checked out bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken. At DeSoto Auto Sales, you're treated like family when you walk in. Kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, but they do care about your time and want you to have the ultimate car experience. They know we're living in a world today that time matters, so with that ultimate car experience, you walk in, within 45 minutes, test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in your new car in time to do it immediately after work, during your lunch hour, and all kind of time tomorrow at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
It has been a day with some enthusiasm for sure. News that we're getting better in terms of testing. Oh, man, over 1,500 a day. Positivity rate's pretty good. Beale Street is going to reopen slowly. No more than 10-person gatherings. That was all good news for sure. Bad news about the unemployment rate, but even good news from Arkansas, particularly for West Memphis. They will open up the Southland Greyhound, well, I should say Southland Racing Family and Gaming and Racing. They've changed the name on me, Southland Gaming and Racing. That's going to open up on the 18th. So we've got live sports coming your way tomorrow with the UFC. So lots of things to be pretty positive about. There was a big call, I hope we can still be optimistic, by the NBA players, a conference call with the league today. I know Andy Schiffman, our agent, still in Memphis, usually from Chicago, had to have players that were on that call. Maybe he was listening in. Andy, good afternoon to you. Hope you and your family are doing well and are healthy. And tell us what you know about this phone call today.
Appreciate you guys having me on again, and hope you both are healthy as well. I can tell you this. The call is happening right now, so I can't tell you anything more than that. So it's 6 o'clock Eastern time. I actually have a call scheduled with a few of my players once they get off to kind of get debriefed. Now, I think generally it's mostly just an update, a state of the union, if you will, in terms of what the goals are for the NBA to resume this season, how they should be treating matriculating back into their respective team facilities. Now, players can go into their team facilities. This starting today, actually, not every facility is open. Still, there are players scattered in their hometowns. Not quite everyone is in their NBA city. But to your point, things seem to be slowly looking very optimistic. Now, we're still a long ways away from announcing a resumption date, if, in fact, there will be one. But it seems like things are actually moving progressively forward, as opposed to there's been really minimal talk of regressing and looking at potentially canceling the season altogether. So happy to fill you in once I get this information on what I can divulge, but it would probably have to be until next Friday when we have our weekly calls again.
What are some of the things, the directions, the hurdles that you think will be addressed on this call today?
I think they're going to talk about the number of players in a facility at any given time. They're going to most likely emphasize, if you are going into practice, make sure that your staff and your coaches and your trainers are following the proper protocols. They all, from what I've learned, need to be wearing PPE and the proper face masks and protective gear. The players obviously would not have to do that, but you're not going to be seeing players fill in a gym 5 or 10 at a time, or even 4 or 5 at a time, working out at the same time. It's all going to be very regimented, very slotted, with probably no more than 2 players at a time on each end of the court. And you think about all of the logistics that players need to make sure are happening in terms of temperature checks upon entry in the arena among everyone in the gym, limiting the number of people in there. Head coaches are not able to go in there and watch. I don't think you'll have an influx of front office personnel in there watching. I think you have to obviously take into account wiping down the NBA balls the team uses between every single workout, potentially even every drill, changing those out, talking about making sure you're sterilizing the court, the rims, the goal, the benches, if players are walking over in between drills to take a breather or get some water, the water bottles, really just making sure the players know. And this is what it all comes down
the shoes.
The league, making shoes, everything. The league is going to make sure, because they understand the hesitancy on the players' part. They understand every player is very nervous about going back and potentially contracting the virus and bringing it back to their family. So the NBA is going above and beyond and out of their way, and especially, I'm sure, on this call that's happening now, to reassure players, to reassure them you're not pushed or forced to go back to work here at the risk of your own health, well-being, and safety. And they're going to walk them through all the protocols and the steps that they plan to take if a restart will happen. And again, there's been no word on if and when the league will resume. Now, I can tell you this week, in terms of international basketball, there's been a lot of movement with the Israeli league announcing today they are officially going to plan on starting up in June. That means our friend Tarek Black could very well be heading back over to Tel Aviv to join his team. The German league is on the precipice of restarting its league with 10 teams. I think what you might see other countries doing the same that haven't officially canceled, like in Spain. And so as you begin to see these places, especially in a place like Spain that was extremely hard hit with the pandemic, restarting their leagues, I think the NBA will keep a watchful eye on the regulations that these leagues employ and how the success rate is when practices start up and when games start up if the NBA has not started its games by June.
Andy, we talked about this earlier in the week, the enormous cost to every team, college and for sure in the pros. In the pros, they can much more easily do it, and a lot of colleges can too. But you're not just going to have a team doctor. You're not just going to have the orthopedist with you, and a lot of people carry mental health professionals with them on the road. A general practitioner, I think, very rarely is a surgeon on a road trip. But now you're going to have an infectious disease doctor and maybe a team of nurses. You know, like when we travel with the charter, Dave, how the charter company kind of has the check-in people and they fly with you and stay kind of in that bubble with us.
Yes.
You're going to have the infectious disease team in that bubble, nurses, temperature takers.
No doubt about
the enormous cost.
You might have to have a second plane to carry all these people. I think you'll see a decrease in the number of team personnel outside of medical staff traveling with the team. Typically, on an NBA flight, you have all of these peripheral people, management, GMs, even some scouts go, front office personnel, you name it. I don't think any of those people will be traveling in the near future with their team. Now, again, in the near future, if we're talking about a resumption of this 1920 season, you're going to be limited to potentially 2 to 3 NBA cities anyways, but they're definitely going to limit the number of people necessary to join the team to those essential people that you just rallied off, you just listed off. The other aspect of it is not only with regards to cost, but just safety and making sure we don't want to exacerbate the spread of the virus by bringing on more people than we really have to have here. So in a typical road trip or a typical trip, let's say, if a team is bringing 50 people, you might see that number drop to 30 to 35. And I think that's going to be uniform across the entire league.
I'm curious, since you mentioned it in Tarek Black, that Israel is going to start up. Are you aware of the protocols that they will have in place for these games?
Well, I talked to the president of Tarek's team, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and they are just now going through it because this was all announced. They're actually really not big fans of restarting. Now, the league that Tarek plays in, Dave, there's 2 leagues. There's the Israeli League, which is just made up of teams within Israel that play one another. And then Maccabi, Tarek's team, is the only team in that league that also plays an international competition at the highest level, Euro League. There are a few other teams that play in lower-level international competition. So Maccabi, they primarily care about Euro League, and that decision in terms of whether Euro League games will resume will come no later than May 24th, according to the Euro League. And so the team is primarily waiting to see what will happen with that league, but at the same time, they have to get their players back over to Tel Aviv to go through the 2-week quarantine, at least those players like Tarek that did go home to the U.S. Not every player did, primarily because it was generally safer in Tel Aviv and Israel in terms of the virus than in the U.S. And then you have to talk about getting back into practice. I mean, this is this is a uniform concern across all professional sports that were in season when this whole thing shut down, right? Is the notion of coming back too soon and risking injury. There are professional athletes that you have here that have sat out and have really done very minimal physical activity and cardio and basketball skill work, if you're talking about basketball players, for 2 months. And so to talk about all of a sudden come back, maybe have some sort of miniature 2-week training camp and then expected to perform at a high level with a truncated schedule, that is very difficult. And that's a major, major concern among all these players. And I don't want to say the league across the board, with the NBA is primarily first and foremost majorly concerned about that and protective, but all these other leagues that don't quite have the financial security the NBA does, they are aware of this concern of the players, but in my experience, I don't truly think they empathize with the players in their concern and fear of coming back too soon and risking injury. So there are a lot of factors that Tarek's team, along with all these other international teams, have to consider, and I do think they understand the majority of players right now, guys, they just don't really want to play. They're not looking forward to going back and playing. In their mind, they're kind of mentally checked out for this season, thinking, hey, let me get my body right. Let me look forward to next season. And it's now kind of seen as fitting a square peg into a round hole when you don't really have to. But the flip side of it is money. I mean, you have to go and finish out your contract. And if you want to have a chance at recouping the rest of your fully guaranteed salary, these players have that for these contracts. The only way to do that is to go play.
Are you saying Andy Schiffman? Sorry, Brett. Are you saying, Andy Schiffman, that the majority of the players that you represent really do not want to go back and play?
I would say the majority of players that I represent outside the NBA are quite concerned and hesitant. I really don't have a player that is telling me I can't wait to go play. I want to get back out in the court. I need to get out there now. If there's a way that they can be absolutely assured that it is safe to do so, I think that would give them a lot of ease moving forward. But look, we don't have that in today's world. We just won't have that. Now, the NBA is a different story. Everyone I've talked with in the NBA, they're ready to go play, again, when it's safe to do so. But they're more optimistic and, I guess, a little more eager because they do know what's at stake. And with regards to, a lot of it, too, right, is the mentality of a U.S. foreign player going back overseas now. It's not like, let me just fly 2 hours to go play in an NBA arena and everything's fine. No, you're talking about leaving the United States, going into a foreign country again with or without your family, and then potentially having to fly to different cities around the globe in cities and countries that you're just not too familiar with in terms of how the virus has affected these places, their protocols. There's a lot more concern. I don't really sense that same concern among NBA players, though. At least to that level.
And last Friday, Dave, when you were away, I asked Andy the number one question, the number one inhibition, the number one thing his players are most reluctant about. And Andy, your answer was safety, 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 way ahead of money.
Oh, absolutely. And that still remains true. And look, fortunately, these players are in a position where they don't have to live and die by a paycheck. And despite a lot of times, obviously, players complaining they're underpaid or he's getting more than me, whatever the case may be, compared to the rest of the world, they are making a lot of money and they're still getting paid, even with the reduction that is going on in the NBA right now, 25% of a player's salary, starting with this most recent paycheck. And so because of that, they're not in a position where, thankfully, they're struggling to feed their family and they don't know when they're going to make any money and pay their bills unless they're living extremely lavishly, which none of my guys are, I can tell you that much. So absolutely, safety is the first and foremost concern. But to Adam Silver's credit, he is right on the same page. And like I said, I think the crux of this call that's going on now, guys, is to reassure the players nothing's happening until we absolutely know it will be safe to start up.
The NBA has a little side story going on today, and that is with the opening of their practice facilities. You mentioned you can't have more than 4 people. There's no head coach there. But also, I just saw the thing with Woj, who says everybody who comes, even asymptomatic players, will be given tests.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes your PR story of because I'd seen a prior story where he said only in cities and communities where all the healthcare people on the front line have all had tests or there's enough testing available, would they be willing to give tests for the NBA to keep testing over and over again? And this denies the masses of being more well-stocked with testing. How will they deal with this PR thing? And I guess the other part to this is, are the Grizzlies opening up? Is Brandon Clark going to be one of those guys? Is he in town?
Well, Brandon is still back home right now in California with his family. And actually, I don't know if you know, Brandon's mom is a nurse in the NICU, so God bless her. She's a first responder in all of this and putting herself on the line. So Brandon's with his family still. The Grizzlies have not rushed their players back to the Forum to go in and get workouts. Zach in the front office there have handled things very, very well and cautiously. But to answer that first question, that is a very good point, and it's something that I've talked with a lot about people around the league in terms of all of a sudden, if the NBA is doling out testing even to asymptomatic players, then you have people who are less fortunate that may not have the means to these tests but need them more than some of these players. How does that look? And that's, I would say, luckily, I don't get paid enough to make that decision, and I'm going to leave that to those that do. It'll be interesting to see because that is look, you're going to get some sort of backlash from the public for that. But at the end of the day, the NBA has to first and foremost care about its players. And it might look bad, but if these tests are available for the NBA players, the NBA needs to take advantage of those resources. They're not going to sit there and say, you know what, our players don't need them, because at the end of the day, everyone's human. The players may need them just like anyone else may need them. Other people may need them more, but players aren't going to sit there and turn them down. And I think the other aspect of it too, right, is NBA players are in a profession where their exposure to the virus is greatly enhanced by being around 4 to 9 other players on a basketball court at any given time, sweating, full physical contact on top of each other for a long period of time. And now if you talk about the possibility of somehow in the future having arenas packed or half packed at half capacity, however you want to draw it up, most people in the world don't have a profession that exposes them to that risk. So you also have to take that into account, and you want to protect against that as much as you can.
Yes, you do.
I don't know where this whole thing will go. It's I'm torn. I don't think elite athletes, in order to practice, should be using up all the tests. But if there's enough tests in a particular community, then I guess I don't have a problem with all of that.
And symbolically, those players passing those tests and getting some semblance of sport back. I understand them breaking the line and the optics of that, but also I understand symbolically how much, well, more than just symbolism, really financially, how much sports matters to us. And, Kennesaw Mountain Landis, President Roosevelt called him during World War II and said, you don't dare stop playing baseball. We have to have it. I don't know that we have to have it, but, boy, we need it.
So absolutely, I agree. I mean, you saw the impact that the resumption of Major League Baseball had after 9/11 and how everyone came together to support the entire league and the sport and how it unifies. Sports has a tendency to unify people. And in today's world, right now, you've got baseball and basketball that would be going on. I think soccer would have been going on as well. However, at least here in the U.S., everyone is used to watching the NBA playoffs and accustomed to watching the NBA playoffs right now and going out to baseball games. And just in general, to miss out on the availability of live sports, we need something to do with our time. Absolutely. So there is that added benefit to people's mental state. I think that would absolutely help. Now, are you going to push forward for that because of that advantage while risking players' health and safety? No, absolutely not. But there's definitely that intangible benefit that it has that I don't think a lot of people really have thought about. It's a really good point.
I know this is all very fluid, and you'll learn a whole lot more when this phone call is over and you talk to your clients later tonight. But if I were to say to you yes or no, do you think there will be the continuation of the NBA season as of right now at 5:20 on Friday night, May the 8th? What would your answer be?
Dave, at 5:20 p.m. Central Time, Friday, May the 8th, my answer is yes. I do think there will be some form of an NBA season to finish the 1920 season, and we can talk all day about how it's going to impact next season, the potential pushback start date of next season, and everything else in between. But yes, I do think there will be NBA games being played at some point this summer to finish out this season.
Good on you, Andy. And I'm stealing this from our friend Mike DeCourcy at the Sporting News. He's gone on a screed on Twitter about finish this year.
Yep.
Next year will be there whenever next year gets there. We must crown a champion. And he makes a good point, Andy. By and large, most of the general public, we wouldn't know next year if the NBA played 40 games or 95 games. You got to finish this year before you worry about next year.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, there's also half of the league that really probably doesn't share that same sentiment, as long as they know they're going to be in a good position to get their lottery pick whenever the draft might be. So I agree with that to a point, because we can all hoot and holler about resuming this season. We just have to finish this season. But like we've talked about on this call, right, you have to make sure certain protections are in place to protect these players. Because the last thing, the absolute last thing, sports in general, starting with the NBA, but sports in general can afford, is to start back up. And next thing you know, 1, 2, 5, 10 different players contract the virus. And here we go all over again when there's no viable vaccine out there available to the public yet. That would be just as much of a nightmare as saying this season won't resume, in my opinion.
Well, it's just like everything. There are so many just within your own league. You've got LeBron going, gosh, we got to play. You've got Steve Kerr going, we're kind of checked out.
But you got Bob Myers, his boss, saying
our
let's play.
season is over. You're right. Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, and I told the story of the two people I talked to today. Andy, I talked to two pretty good NBA people. One said 100% we're back, and one said 0%. No shot we play.
Yeah, and look, right now it's just that. It's everyone's opinion based on what they are getting from the league, the information. The bottom line is, like we talked about last week, that nobody truly knows what will happen. Neither does Adam Silver, and everyone across the world is at the mercy of the timeline of how this thing continues to evolve. My whole thing is, it seems like across the U.S., social distancing is working. Me personally, am pretty fearful of everything reopening too quickly because of that, and seeing all the progress that we as people and a nation have made thrown away just to reopen things too quickly. But I am blessed enough to still be employed and have a job, so I can't be a voice of someone that has a family to feed that potentially got furloughed or lost their job. So I'll limit my sentiment to that.
Have you figured out if Chicago's safe enough to go home yet, or are you still in Memphis? Well, how are you working it?
I'm still in Memphis. Today it was 39 degrees in Chicago, so I'm not too upset about being down here still, even though we had a rainy day in Memphis. But I'm still down here, and we'll be here working remotely until the foreseeable future when Chicago reopens. And when they do so, then I'll know it's safe to get back up into the office, and still staying busy. We're planning for the NBA draft as of today, still to be happening in late June. I don't think that date will hold. I think they'll push it back. But again, we're operating as a staff with our new draft class as if that will happen. We're making sure all of our players are staying active and managing everything in terms of the resuming of international basketball games like we talked about. So I'm fortunate enough to be staying very busy during this time.
Real quick, give me 2 or 3 of your top guys for this draft.
So we as a company, we have Killian Tilly from Gonzaga.
Ooh, good player.
We've got Cassius Winston from Michigan State. We've got Jordan Nwora from Louisville.
Man,
we've got 2 other seniors, Sam Merrill from Utah State, Marcus Howard from Marquette.
Oh, you got my where I love watching Marcus Howard. I don't know if it'll translate to the NBA. Where do you guys project that he'll go?
I think he has a really good chance to go somewhere in the second round. Obviously, the thing he's got working against him is size, but in today's NBA, if you pair him with a bigger point guard, you can absolutely play him more off the ball and then have him guard the point guard with the bigger guard and the two guard, if that all makes sense.
Yep.
The guy can fill it up in an instant. And you saw that with Carson Edwards, who's actually one of our clients as well, coming out of Purdue last year. Whether Marcus gets drafted as high as Carson did in the early 30s this summer remains to be seen. But there's no denying his ability to score the ball from anywhere on a basketball court.
Your company's efforts are obviously gaining you fruit, let's say. It's been a good bounty, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about that in the draft next week. We'll also check back in with you about what occurred on this phone call today when we chat again in 7 days. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Stay healthy.
All right, stay safe, guys. Thanks.
And that is our friend Andy Schiffman. Really excellent agent, and you could see, look, Tarek Black, what he's going through to try to figure out what, back to Israel, got a quarantine. I mean, what a different world we live in now.
And Dave, I talked about the symbolism, and Andy was right. The reverse symbolism of another Rudy Gobert moment. And you think about it, Dave, what would have happened if that doesn't happen that night? And let's say it's 3 days later. Do all those conference basketball tournaments keep playing on? And if it happens 3 days later, they're close enough to the finish line of like the Big East tried to do. No, we're going to crown a champion. We keep playing. And how many more people may have been ill? Because now we see people emanating from New York City and the New York area. It kind of seeded the rest of the country with the virus.
It might have delayed a couple of days. I don't know if it would have had any effect, but it was coming because we know you get it, and sometimes it's 2 weeks before it shows up. But we wouldn't have gotten in a full NCAA tournament, I can tell you that.
No.
We do have to take a time out. This portion of the show brought to you by The Spirit Shop. I know you're on your way home. Many of you are back at work, and we're opening up slowly. Same sort of rules apply. It's curbside at that little log cabin at Poplar and St. Nick, 4848 Poplar, just down from Clark Tower. So much stock in that little place. It's really not so little once you get inside, but doesn't matter. You don't go inside anymore. You call The Spirit Shop, tell them what you want. They'll bring it out to you. And let's say they don't have it right now. They'll find it for you somewhere. May take a week, but Eddie Conner will call you and go, we've got it. Come pick it up. Then when you get there, call them. Look, you can even pay over the phone. They'll take a credit card. They'll take cash. But if you call, leave a credit card number, all they do is they'll come and they'll put it in your trunk or they'll put it in your back seat. You don't have to exchange anything else. It's really simple. It's really sanitary. And you get your spirits to get you through this weekend. Again, it's The Spirit Shop, family-owned since 1969. Served in Memphis. They'll serve you tonight curbside at The Spirit Shop. Let's take this time out. When we do return, the always anticipated challenge for Brett Norsworthy and I. Drew Barrett has, well, he's really going to try to put it to us with heck yeah, hell no. That's next.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing. It's what we do. We're here for you.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal housing lender.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. How old is your water heater? With most of the water heaters in the Mid-South located in the attic, the worst day you can replace your water heater is one day too late. It may be time for a tankless water heater from Conway Services that never runs out of hot water. Plus, these energy-saving models only heat the water you use, saving you money on your gas bill every month. Most 10-year-old water heaters were about 65% efficient when they were new, compared to a tankless water heater from Conway Services is up to 98% efficient. Plus, right now, get your tankless water heater from Conway Services for as low as $79 per month, or I'll give you $300 for that old tank water heater. And no more worrying about that tank bursting in your attic either. And with over 8,000 5-star reviews, you know Google guaranteed Conway Services will be providing that award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier tankless water heater professionals at 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old water heater will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Ugh, those nachos were rough on my stomach.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea,
try Pepto-Bismol liquid caps for fast relief and ultra coating.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion,
Pepto-Bismol liquid caps. Use as directed.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Friday disappearing, the weekend almost here. This portion of the show brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. That's right off Lamar. When you're driving down into Mississippi, you know, you get State Line Road. It's Highway 78, and then you're there, right? It's the very first exit, Craft Road, turn left. You'll see what I think is the standard for the way car business should be done. 0% financing is their newest thing. They're always a step ahead of the game. 0% financing for 84 months. For 7 years, you don't pay any interest on your note. And because it's hard times, we know that, 120 days, that's the leeway you've got. You don't have to make a car payment when you get one of these new cars off the lot of either a Hyundai or a Genesis on select models. You don't have to make a payment for 3 months. The first 120 days on Homer and on Genesis of Olive Branch. And these cars are so good, 10 years. 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car in the place, including my G70. What a car. That's the luxury car, Genesis. I think the best luxury cars on the planet. Stock full of new technology that makes it so safe. Performs and safe and durable. It lasts forever. You'll love what you see. And go please see Chris True and all the gang. And say hello from us at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. All right, the long-awaited, heck yeah, hell no.
Heck yeah. Hell no. Already?
Yes.
All right, we'll start with the Last Dance series that has been going on ESPN. You are caught up, right?
Very caught up, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Especially, I believe it was episode 6. Do you think you could mentally take being Michael Jordan in the 90s that was shown in The Last Dance for longer than a week?
I think it's what was telling to me was him sitting on that couch smoking a cigar and saying, basically, this isn't my only refuge. I think that would be very, very difficult. You can never go out and misbehave. You can never get mad in a line while waiting. You can never get into an argument because your image goes right down the
especially
tube.
In this video world.
It is, I think, very difficult. A week I might be able to make. A year I know I couldn't. A career would really be difficult. And you can hear it with when he says, I can't win, because no one can live up to the image that he had to portray. Be like Mike. You know, that was okay in the beginning, but when you become a human being, and first of all, you're really growing up. I mean, he goes from being a college kid, he didn't even finish college, to all the responsibility of
carrying a company,
of carrying the league, and the image that went with that. And I mean, you couldn't make any mistakes. That was incredibly difficult. I admire him for what he did. I couldn't do it.
Hell no, not a chance. I've always said, if I were a pro golfer, I would want to be Billy Andrade before I would want to be Tiger Woods, because I think that'd be, like you said, it'd be fun about a week, Drew, of the constant badgering. One thing I'm surprised that The Last Dance hadn't really gone into, you know, Jack Haley, his teammate, was basically his caddy, would carry his bags for him, and Michael Jordan would tip him very well. Michael Jordan said, you know, he didn't carry anything heavier than a Sharpie to sign autographs, and Jack Haley was his gopher, was his caddy. Another thing they haven't covered that I thought they would.
No, there's
four
more episodes that could come up.
And it's a great story. The Chicago Bulls, on the day they fly Michael Jordan to town for the signing ceremony, somewhere, it was just an honest mistake, but they didn't have a car service waiting for him at O'Hare. And he's at baggage check then. He didn't have Jack Haley lugging everything around for him. He's at baggage claim, and he gets his bag, and just a guy, just a random guy in the airport that's a huge basketball fan, more college than pro, and has a good job in Chicago, but not a great job, recognizes Michael Jordan, says, hey, you're Michael Jordan. Are you in town for the Bulls press conference? He says, yeah, I am. He goes, well, you know, really glad you're here. And Michael Jordan goes, are you from here? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't have a ride. Can you give me a ride to Chicago Stadium or wherever they were having the announcement?
Which is a long way from O'Hare Airport, let me tell you.
Michael Jordan hired that guy, and I think to this day that guy still works for him in some capacity just for being a nice guy that day at O'Hare. But hell no. Let me be Jack Haley. I don't want to be Michael Jordan.
I have never heard that story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
I would say this, though.
Joe Klein told me.
I think it's even bigger, honestly, to be Michael Jordan, to be the golfers, because, you know, Tiger might be a little different, but most of those golfers,
Tiger's,
Rory, even Phil, they're
DJ,
big within golfing. But they're not,
they're at FBO airports anyway.
Yeah, but they're not walk down the street, I'm going to recognize you major stars. If Rory
and
McIlroy,
interrupted at every meal.
All right, if Rory McIlroy walked down the street without his cap on, okay, in blue jeans,
he'd be fine.
No, I think most people would not really know him unless they were golfers. But Michael Jordan walks down the street, or Steph Curry now walks down the street. LeBron James walks down the street.
They can't live.
No, there's
Tom Brady.
They have to be sort of separated from the masses.
Not a
because
prayer.
Everybody knows them.
I would. You could not make me be famous. Next.
You know, I honestly disagree with LeBron is on the same type of level as Michael Jordan as far as walking out the street and fandom, because one, he doesn't do the same amount of commercials that Michael did, and especially now that we have cameras following people around, LeBron has even put out videos where he walks down the street and waits for people to recognize him, and they never do.
Huh.
Oh, is that right?
He's got his
and
own
the security aspect for your family.
Yeah, he's got his own TV show now, though, too. I mean, he's. I think people. It's hard. You're right, because Michael was on the NBA. Michael was doing all those Nike commercials and all of the Gatorade commercials. I mean, there wasn't a sporting event on display that didn't have a commercial of Michael Jordan or 2 or 3 in it. So you're right. I mean, his presence was incredible. Like,
I would rather be Eli Manning than Peyton Manning.
Who do you think of all these years?
I'd really rather be Cooper.
I'd say the most known, recognized human being on earth in my lifetime was probably Muhammad Ali. Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan are next.
Worldwide, probably Muhammad Ali.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because while we knew Terry Bradshaw, they didn't know Terry Bradshaw in the Philippines.
No, but
they knew Muhammad Ali in every corner of the world.
But here's where
you're getting very close to going John Lennon on us. Be careful.
But Michael Jordan, because of the Dream Team, which really made basketball in Europe, he was.
They knew him in Malta.
He was world renowned. There's no everybody in the world knew who Michael Jordan was.
I mean, everybody in the world didn't know who Joe Montana was.
No, because back in those days, Europe could have cared less about football.
That's right.
Next.
All right, before we switch topics, I'll ask the question because it's been debated on Twitter a lot recently with The Last Dance. Was the 90s the best decade of NBA basketball?
You know what?
Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
You've seen it out there before.
Hell no, and I'll tell you why. Every generation.
It's nostalgia, I think, misplaced.
I think every generation thinks that their generation is the best. For me, that will be. I'm going to tell you flat out, nothing will beat that because I was there for every Michael Jordan championship. I watched every game. I was totally immersed in it because that was my team and he was my guy, and it meant life and death for me. Those games, I'd say, we can lose this game next year, but I got to have this one. I'm willing to sacrifice next year.
I thought the 80s were better
in terms of basketball being played.
But I thought the Lakers, Celtics.
Yeah, but and I can understand that because you didn't have any skin in the game like I had with the Bulls. Let's face it, I knew the Bulls from the time of their inception, from Bob Boozer and Guy Rogers.
The heyday of baseball probably was the 50s. Dave, I think the heyday of college basketball, and it's not just because I was coming of age then, but I don't think we'll ever have 80s college basketball. I don't think anything can ever top that.
You might be right about that. That's Larry Bird and Magic and
Bird was in the 70s. They were in the 70s.
Well, he won the 80
Patrick
championship,
Ewing,
didn't he? Their Final Four championship game was 1980,
79.
was it not?
79 in Salt Lake City.
It was 79-80 season, though, wasn't it?
No.
It was 78-79?
Mm-hmm. But in the 80s when you had and CBS getting the tournament was a big part of it, getting the 82 tournament, but you had Michael Jordan buzzer beater, you had NC State with the ball in the air at the Horn in 83, you had Patrick Ewing in 84, you had the Villanova upset in 85, you had Danny and the Miracles in 88, you had Keith Smart in 87, you had the Michigan run in 89 out of nowhere with a coach that had been their coach for 2 weeks. I thought 80s college basketball was the zenith. Now, the 78-79 season, the 79 Salt Lake City Final Four really ushered that in, but the 80s in college basketball I don't think can be topped. And for the NFL, it feels like every decade's the top for them. It just gets better and better.
I'm going to debate you on, I think you're right with the 80s in college basketball, just the stories and the names of household names that we got out of college basketball in the 80s. But as far as the best basketball being played, I disagree because four-corner basketball, zero shot clock basketball makes me want to rip my eyes out.
Yeah, I
had to have an appetite for it. You did that. You did have to have an appetite for it.
I don't love it, but I would say I would start with that Bird and magical rivalry in college basketball is the beginning of a really good stretch of a lot of great
It ushered
play.
in the 80s, and ESPN came online then. Next.
All right, switching to the NFL with the release of the 2020 NFL schedules yesterday, ESPN and other sites have released their predictions for each team. ESPN has the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, and Saints tied for the best record at 12-4.
Did you hear that about the Bills? And who was the first one to say that? That's just throwing that one out there.
My question is, will a team win 13 or more games this year?
Ooh. I'm going to say
13 or more.
13 or more.
Heck yes. Somebody will land on 13. The Chiefs could. San Francisco could.
I'm going to say hell no. It's just, well, first off, I'm not sure we're going to have enough games played to get to 13. That's one. And two,
if there's a 16-game season.
And two, I
Buffalo's picked to go 12-4.
Yes, sir.
They are.
Yes, sir. Just telling you.
Vegas can't be that dumb, can they?
You have no respect for that defense or for Allen.
I have no respect for that franchise.
Well, don't forget they were winners years ago with O.J. Simpson and who was the guy that used to be an
O.J.
announcer?
didn't win anything. O.J. played in one career playoff game. Lost 32-14 to Pittsburgh.
Who is the announcer that was a longtime Buffalo guy?
Paul McGuire.
Paul McGuire. Yeah, I liked him. They won AFL championships, the Buffalo Bills.
Well, Dave, yeah, it's a lot of black hot tops back then too.
Just saying,
a lot of crew cuts.
This is the year. You remember who said it first? Do you see where the Bears? They picked the Bears under 500. That is ridiculous. I will bet you right now the Bears are over 500. That defense isn't going to let you under.
Is that a
500.
steak and whiskey bet?
Do you see the first 4 or 5 games?
I'll fade that. I'll fade that for us, Drew.
Appreciate it.
Please.
Steak and whiskey for that one.
Steak and whiskey that they're over 500.
I'm taking the under on
That's
that.
not it. I'm taking the under.
That means they got okay. I'm saying they're going to win 9 games. That's fine.
Oh, that's easy. That's the easiest bet we've ever made.
Did
Drew.
you see the first 5?
Easy money.
The first 4 or 5 games they play is against teams that didn't even make the playoffs last year. You're out. You guys are.
I'm
you
sorry, I
forget how
missed the
good
Bears
that
in the
defense
playoffs
is.
last year.
Well, that was Mitch. He's got a year.
One
under
more
his
quick.
belt.
All right, real
Do we have
quick.
one more quick?
Yeah, I got a quick one. Forbes released their most passionate fan bases according to Forbes in MLB, NHL, NFL, and NBA. 3 of them you don't really need to debate, but the NBA one says that the Golden State Warriors fan base is the most passionate. Do you agree?
How do they? How do they get? What's the
I
quotient
guess.
to be the most passionate? I'll say this much: they spend the most.
When they're winning, they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's easy to be passionate when you're winning.
Well,
sure, that's easy.
but also they had to put up the money. I mean, did you see to be a patron in their new stadium how much money that cost you? That's incredible.
And with this economic downturn, what will they be facing?
Oh boy, I don't know. That is good. Those are great questions, Drew. You do a terrific job.
And walked us into the easiest bet ever. I'll drive you home that night, Drew.
I appreciate it because I will get my money's worth.
Okay, and my curiosity is,
And it will be top shelf.
Will that be the case when you guys are paying? And Brett, will you give me a ride home too?
I'll call you an Uber.
You're right, because I'll be insufferable when you pay that one. Insufferable. We've got to take our final timeout. When we return, it's crunch time, and that is next.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on the plate and sprinkle our season all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis, in the alley since 1948.
Right now, so many of us are turning living rooms into classrooms, dining rooms into offices, and our backyards into produce aisles. Our homes are working harder than ever for us, and Lowe's is here to help you explore the possibilities of what home can become. Even the small things that can help you keep your home running smoothly. We're here for you, in store and 24/7 at Lowe's.com.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Final portion of the week brought to you by Conway. I got to tell you, I talk about the tune-up all the time. Well, I put my actions where my words are. We had the gentleman from Conway Services Heating, Cooling, Plumbing come over today to do the exact same thing. I talk about that tune-up. We're part of the Comfort Club. We have it twice a year. It makes our system hum, and it really our system lasts forever. It's an older system, but part of it is because we take care of it. Call 384-3511. Every time you miss a tune-up, 5% efficiency out the window. That's money out of your pocketbook to MLGW. And again, it'll last forever if you take care of it. And what they'll do, it's a 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up for $69. There's a free leak check that's part of the deal right now. They do a Teflon coating on your outside unit to make sure you're protected there. Inside, 16 points, they tune up. They change your filter out. They take care of you, and they do that for $69. It is really going to make a savings for you when it comes to your power bill, but also it will make your system last longer, and your house will be cool this summer. 384-3511, Conway Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric. It's crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Dave learned today with the NFL schedule released last night, they will have the first Friday game in the NFL since 2009, and that's going to be Christmas afternoon on Fox between New Orleans. New Orleans will be hosting Minnesota. So the NFL will be going up against the NBA Christmas Day juggernaut. So with New Orleans hosting that game, how about this at the NBA offices? Let's have Memphis in their first Christmas Day game hosting in a 3 o'clock game in that afternoon window, straight up against the Saints in New Orleans, with Zion Williamson coming to Memphis to play Ja Morant.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I'm looking so forward someday to be on Christmas Day going to a Grizzlies game. I think Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are the only 2 days on the calendar that I've never been to live sports.
Well, there isn't anything on Christmas Eve.
Hawaii Bowl. One of these days, I'm going to be there.
There you go. There you go. I learned today, speaking of the NFL, that Phillip Rivers, who signed a 1-year, $25 million deal with Indy, Phillip Rivers has already agreed to follow his father's footsteps and be a high school football coach in Alabama, in Fairhope, Alabama.
That's a good spot.
There is a high school, St. Michael Catholic High School, And he's already agreed when he retires, he will be the head coach of that school. How about that?
Who wouldn't like to retire to Fairhope and Point Clear? Wouldn't that be heavenly? Could have done without, you mentioned earlier, the passing of Mike Storin.
Yeah.
He ran the ABA team here known as the Memphis Sounds. That should be the name of the NBA team in town right now. That logo, that look, that name. He was also the commish, ran the Kentucky Colonels, but he's more famous for being Hannah Storm's dad. The year he ran the Sounds, they got to the playoffs that year and lost to the Kentucky Colonels. The last home game for the Memphis Sounds in the ABA, April 11th, drew about 5,000 people at the Coliseum.
I would agree with you. Mike Storin's passing at the age of 84 is what I could have done without. This news not the greatest either. Well, I think NASCAR has been so smart. Remember, they're getting ready to have their first live race May the 17th, so it's literally going to be 9 days from now. They decided also to cut 3 races in Chicago, in Sonoma, and in Richmond. They still hope to have a 36-race season. But you're knocking out a big market in Chicago, and Sonoma's basically the Bay Area.
You sure are. Keeping a close eye this weekend on a lot, 9th straight weekend without live sports. A bigger examination of the NFL schedule like this. The Houston Texans, they play in a dome. They'll have 10 games indoors next year, but listen to these outdoor games for them. They go outside to Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and Chicago. They could lose every one of those, or at least 5 out of 6. The Indianapolis Colts, they only play outdoors 5 times all year. We'll see baseball's plan to return, and also Tom Brady already installed as an underdog week 1. It'll be the first time in 74 straight regular season games that he will be an underdog. Bill Belichick already installed as a favorite week 1.
I'm going to be watching out tomorrow. UFC. It's the first live sports in America.
We want a full report on it Monday.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
I can't wait to see
I'm gonna watch.
Ferguson and Gaethje. I am too. Real sports.
Y'all live text me all about it, okay?
Sure.
I got you.
We'll do that.
Please don't.
We got to thank Bruce Marshall, Mickey Barker, Vince Ferreira, Bill Harder, and Andy Schiffman. And to you, Drew, those were really good. Heck yeah, hell no questions. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Mother's Day. Brett, happy Mother's Day to your Mother's Day. Drew, same thing
Thank
to
you.
you. And be safe. Keep social distancing. And we'll see you on Monday.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901.